Colombia president goes beast mode, gets visa revoked. Trump to send troops to Portland. BLM FBI fired. Netanyahu admits they own TikTok now. What else? There's a bunch of stuff going on. Portland, Oregon or Portland, Maine? No, Portland, Oregon, I think, right? Why would it be Portland, Maine? Since when is not yet. Maybe if Graham Plattner pops off too hard, he might be sending the troops there too. He's like, you're a socialist. You're a socialist. And therefore, we're sending the military. You look very good for being 40. What's your workout schedule? Okay, I'm 34. Calm down. Okay, I'm not 40. I'm 34. You fucking asshole. Jesus, I just rolled. One day you will be old too, okay? You son of a bitch. You're going to be old one day too. Just you wait. Just you freaking wait. Video statement by Pam Bondi. If you touch an ICE agent, you're going to jail. Straight to jail. Of course, classic. AG goes crazy over ICE agents. Saturday fun day. Get in now. Partigiano. Reason of pain to protect the flotilla. Erdogan probably watched your stream yesterday. Yeah, he listens to me, dude. I got motion in Turkey. I got big motion in Turkey. He's just trying to be like me, little bro. Yo, who made the pants, big dog? Carhartt WIP collection. Do we have a blast off meme? What is this? Tactical Metal Gear sleepover? Yeah, eventually. Not yet. Are we locked in on China or delayed again? Yeah, we're locked in on China. Have you seen this beautiful picture? Yes. The Lula kissing Petro? Yes, I have. It made me happy. They're not like they're not as aggro as I wish they were. Like, they exhibit a tenth of the Chavez smoke, I would say. But like, I'll take it. Actually, with Petro, I would go so far as to say he goes even beyond. He goes beyond Lula for sure. I think Lula's been a bit too moderate. I will say it. Lulag aside, I feel like he is 30 minutes only, 9K. They're shadowing you, dog. I think there's an issue. There's a discrepancy with like the way people see viewership, because there's like 23,000 people in here. It's not. I think there's like a lag in the view count. That's why some people come in here and they go, oh, dude, I see 15K. Oh, maybe it's a mobile thing. Because like, look at the screen. It's right here. I have the viewership right here. It never changes on mobile. Mobile keeps it at the view count when you first click it. Ah, wait, that's why my fucking haters come in here and they go, lol, you fell off. You got like 6K viewers. It turns out they've been tuning in from the first moment that I go live, when like my first view count is like 6K, and they just wait. They wait and wait and wait, and they'll be like an hour in or 2 hours in, and they'll be like, damn, bro, you freaking fell off, dude. You suck. And it's like, damn, dude, you've been in here this whole time? Literally, no. Mine changes on Google Pixel. I think for some people, it's just like, it just gets stuck, maybe. I don't really know. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. Who gives a shit? Just watch the goddamn stream, man. Can you not enjoy it if you don't feel like an entire arena full of people are watching? Like, do you just go, honestly, I was going to get my news from this guy, but if he's not cracking 30K minimum, if he's not got like 40,000 people in here, what's the point? You know what I mean? What's the freaking point, fam? This sucks. I got our rating, one battle after another, 1 star because his radical leftist movie for them, lol. I mean, yeah, it's okay. I think you have to remember that they do not matter, especially when it comes to art. I really, really, really hope that people can regain their independence somehow. I really hope that people can like regain their humanity and their independence in their consumption of art. One of the worst aspects of like internet and the democratization of media has been that like everyone is more susceptible to someone else telling them how to feel about like consuming works of art. And it's like, you shouldn't let that. I know it's funny for me to say it because like a lot of you probably ask my takes on shit for that reason too. But like, There are plenty of instances where I can't even convince you, like with comedy. There are a shit ton of people out there that refuse to reckon with the notion, or rather the reality, that comedy is not an expression of bourgeois decadence or counter-revolutionary tendencies. You know? Some people just can't comprehend that. They can't contend with that reality. They just go, nah, no, laughter, not the best medicine. Actually, as a matter of fact, medicine itself is bourgeois. No Valorante gift subs? Yeah, Valorant is still going crazy over the gift subs. Anyway, I'm not going to watch the entire Petro speech, but he's been going boss mode and beast mode. If we're keeping it a $150 here, we're keeping it real. He is my GOAT, my small king, okay? My short king. And he went maybe a little too beast mode, as a matter of fact. So much so that he got his visa revoked by the Department of Homeland Security, which is interesting. I mean, he's here for the United Nations. Like, I don't think you can do the United Nations if you're just going to be like, hey, sorry, the things that you're saying as a world leader at the UN, we don't actually appreciate, so we're just going to kick you out. Like, that's kind of wild. That's a wild thing to do. And it's also additionally wild because they won't exercise his power on Benjamin Netanyahu. America is supposed to be the leader of the free world, right? And there are these institutions that we have designed, that we've played a formative role in the design of, and the enforcement mechanisms that we control, that we just refuse to actually abide by, specifically when it comes to Israel, right? And it's been a rather interesting thing to watch. Anyway, here is my GOAT, Colombia president, just going nutty mode. Let's take a look.
Y se responde con armas.
We have to answer in the streets. We have the answer with the words. And we have the...
Los neonazis genocidas de... I don't know what that means, but it sounds good to me.
That's why we need to create an army bigger than the army of Israel plus the army of USA.
No tengo nada contra...
We don't have anything against the Jew people or against the Israeli people. Some of them are my friends. We were part of the M19, a guerrilla movement in Colombia. We were solidarity with the Polisario Front and another struggles. That's...
Oh, come on. We skipped the last part. Anyway, he said, we need to create an army. One of the high notes in this is, and yes, Roger Waters was there in the corner as well, right behind him. My goats. We need to create an army bigger than Israel's, and we have to respond with a war, he said. And I think that's beast mode, okay? That's beast mode. Listen, some people are out there unafraid to raise the temperature a little bit on this issue, and it's good because it will, as I've said, make the liberal side that is reluctant to even talk about these sorts of things a little bit more like this kind of stuff, this kind of language. While many people will say is crazy, right? It's radical, but it's good because it urges people to, it gets people to recognize the urgency. That's number one. It expands the permission structure. Number two. And last but not least, it makes the quiet people actually come out and at the very least say something. You know, for those who are on the streets that are talking about Israel, that simply stay at this is Benjamin Netanyahu's war, they now have to push further to the left and say this isn't just Benjamin Netanyahu's war, this is Israel's war. For those who recognize that the Israeli society broadly is perfectly on board with this kind of sentiment, they now have to reckon with the reality that perhaps this is a matter of Zionism being a fascist ideology. And for those who recognize that Zionism is a fascist ideology, well, for them, this gives them the courage to take direct action. So usually that's how it works. It ranges from people like myself all the way down to like hanger-ons who are maybe even worried about their careers like Jennifer Lawrence. This doesn't mean that there is going to be actual military intervention in Israel. Obviously, it's a nuclear armed state. That's not happening anytime soon, right? But when you have more people demanding things like this, it causes America to also recalculate. Recalculate is its allegiances, especially when the middle moves to the left because of the courage that they receive. There is never a moment where someone sees someone so radical, right, and goes, okay, these guys are too crazy for me. I'm out. I'm actually pro-Israel now. It doesn't work that way. That's what a lot of people think because they're already pro-Israel. They're just too ashamed of admitting it. Okay? Anyway, this was funny, though. Earlier today, Colombian President Petro Gustavo stood on a New York City street and urged U.S. soldiers to disobey orders and incite violence. We will revoke Petro's visa due to his reckless and incendiary actions. Whoa, buddy, Seamus says. You're not allowed to go to other countries and incite their people to action. Only American diplomats can do that. And not only that, but also, I don't even think this is a one-to-one comparison with what Petro was doing. Petro wasn't inciting action in the way that like an American diplomat that's actually a CIA agent tries to invoke like a color revolution or whatever. He just straight up was acting as the head of state, recognizing right from wrong, and also telling American soldiers that they don't have a duty to obey orders if those orders are unlawful. That is the truth. That is a part of the American rule book, by the way. For those of you who do not know, and I'm sure there's plenty of military members in here, active duty and former veterans as well, you literally don't have to follow rules that are illegal, okay? They will court-martial you. You will lose your job. You might even be thrown in prison for an extended period of time. But once the legal process goes through, you will be found totally innocent. Like if your commanding officer issues an unlawful order, you have no obligation to follow through on it. Like, for example, if tomorrow, former veterans, yeah, you know what I mean, former active duty veterans, okay, shut up. If tomorrow, let's say Pete Kegstand calls all the generals over and he gives them this like incredible speech and he tells them, you don't have to do this thing, you go to jail. Wait, what? No. I'm saying in the worst instance, like you get court-martialed, you might even be jailed for a brief period of time, but it's still better than participating in a genocide, for example. And many people have done that. Also, anyway, Pete Kegstand brings all the generals over, let's say, and he's like, we're going to do the Crusades. Look at my tattoo. Isn't it cool? We're warrior culture, you know? And then he's like, we're going to war for Israel. If your commanding officers also lead you to do that and you say, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not following this order, especially by the numbers. If you did like an officer's mutiny or something, like, yes, initially you will be, in the interim, you might get criminal punishments within the military courts, but it's far better for you to disobey in advance than to participate in a fucking genocide. It's morally right, and history will absolve you. History will vindicate you 100%. Yeah, and also there is at least some semblance of fairness in the legal structure that exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the fucking rules, you know? Yeah. Military oath is to obey all lawful orders. Disobedience of illegal orders are a part of that oath, okay? You are under no obligation to obey an unlawful order. Remember that. 100%. Military personnel, and I will repeat this over and over again, military personnel are not required to follow illegal orders, okay? The United States boldly broke with the ancient military custom of swearing loyalty to a leader. Article 6 required that American officers thereafter swear loyalty to our basic law, the Constitution. While many other nations have suffered military coups, the United States never has. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that, should orders in the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. Many other nations have adopted our principle of loyalty to the basic law. What makes an order illegal? I don't know. Go kill these like children prisoners of war. that is an unlawful order. You are under no obligation to follow said order. That's it. That's a huge thing in the US military, by the way. I mean, you'll still get punished for it in the interim, but it won't be permanent. Just something to remember for many of you. And before people say easier said than done, dog, you're already in the fucking military. What do you mean? Your life is already dog shit. Okay, you get thrown in the fucking brig for like a couple weeks maximum, okay? Unless they execute you. No, that's not how this works. Fuck. Oh no, dude. Like, yeah, there is a due process as it stands, okay? I'm saying worst case scenario, it's still better than mutilating children. The point is, when you're in the military, you already exhibit a level of courage, right? You signed on to do battle. You signed on and you signed up to potentially get shot at, okay? So you already have like a pre-existing level of courage built in to the structure of the military that you have to basically abide by, in which case it should be a much easier decision to just be like, at worst, I fucking go to prison for a little bit. What you saying? The U.S. military won't execute disobedient people? Just don't go to the fucking military, Unc? Dog, that's my first position, first and foremost. I'm just simply speaking to the people that are already in. I feel like that's pretty clear, don't you think? Has never been and never will be one of those leftist communities that says automatically, if you're active duty, if you're in the military, fuck you. This is a troop exploder stream, that type of shit. Like, I don't do that. I've never done that, and I will never do that. I think it's probably outside of like automatically shitting on religion. I would say that's the second dumbest way to organize. Okay? There's two things that I think leftist groups do with regular frequency that is not only incredibly off-putting, but is also really bad for bringing larger numbers to a cause. And it is, one, like, I shit on the actions of the military. Of course, I'm an anti-imperialist. But having said that, I don't immediately assume that just because someone's a veteran, they're a dog shit, war criminal, monster, whatever. And I think leftists should not do that either. Especially because, dude, you have to, no matter what happens, you have to understand, especially if you are already in the United States of America, like, our starting position is endlessly hypocritical, endlessly fortunate, as opposed to someone in the fucking global South. And therefore, especially when you got a dude who's like from a poor family or whatever, because I've met so many fucking veterans who have radical politics now, radical leftist politics, who are anti-war veterans, who have seen it in action, who have participated in these acts of violence, who are destroyed by it, and then realize that this was all for naught, and spend every waking moment fighting against that to ensure others don't fall into the same trap. But our starting position is already so fortunate that, like, it's a little bit hypocritical for us to automatically go, well, I didn't have to go. You know, I didn't ever feel the need, or I didn't actually get duped or something, so I'm better than you. I'm morally better than you. As long as someone's current opinions are in the correct direction, as long as someone is leading with empathy first politics, and they are trying to offer some kind of restitution for what they've done in the past, then it's, I don't have a problem with that. Vincente, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Especially because you are quite literally you don't listen. You're literally dropping a massive, massive opportunity when you do that. Okay? Like, other veterans in this community will probably agree with this, but like, think about it. A bunch of dumb fuck dickheads from like Iowa that have never thought about anything, that have never had any sort of organizational structure in their lives, all of a sudden are due to the poverty draft or due to one reason or another, finding themselves in this like massive fucking jobs program. And in the aftermath of like all of the basic training and the actions that they engage in, especially if they go on tour, if they're active duty, they come back and they're like, this shit sucks. That's an opportunity ripe for radicalization in the appropriate direction, as opposed to just being like, you're a war criminal, fuck you, you know? In any case, it doesn't matter. Many of the people are just on the logistics sides anyway. It's just like a fucking massive jobs program. I wish that it was a jobs program that focused on building bridges and shit instead of just, murdering children. But regardless, when a lot of people are in this system, it opens their eyes up to said reality.
What motivated?
Here, yeah, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. I just don't think it's like a smart strategic decision to automatically oppose people. But that's just not who I am anyway. Like when I see someone from Israel, I don't immediately assume that they're going to be like super invested, hyper Zionist. I just don't. Until people show you who they are, don't make any assumptions. That's the appropriate thing to do.
Did you to enlist?
Poverty. I joined the Army because of poverty. The number one recruitment tool of the United States military is to go to...
Have you not seen the polls? I have. It still doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter. I never will, and I will never do that. It doesn't matter. I have seen it. Overwhelming majority of Jewish Israelis fucking love what Israel's doing, okay, in Gaza. And still, I'm not going to automatically start with that. Okay? I'm not going to automatically start with that assumption. Obviously, you can very quickly fucking figure it out. Yeah, remember what Norm said about his parents? Not the same, of course, but about Germans? Yeah, I know. Except even in that conversation, Norm Finkelstein understands that like it's kind of fucked up that his parents feel that way. It's more so an understanding of what they've gone through. You do realize that, right? Because in that story that he describes, he's talking about a German friend of his that he is bringing home to his parents. Like, the point is, it's still not the best idea to automatically assume that that someone that you're talking to, even from an in-group that's like overwhelmingly in favor of this like incredibly fucked up thing, you shouldn't have your starting position be this assumption. And there are obviously going to be instances where that leads to that unwinds and leads to failure down the line. I mean, come on, you know that. I'm just giving you my perspective. You can tell me that you can sit here and explain to me how combative you are to every single person, but I think it's important not to be that way, especially because it's good to always operate under the assumption that you can change people's minds by communicating with them, by getting them to understand your worldview. And that's how you bring more reliable allies on your side.
Highly impoverished areas and offer things that America doesn't offer you, like healthcare, housing, income, stability. We offer our soldiers socialism to go abroad and defend capitalism. And I was too poor to say no. I was in the Army from 2001 to 2014, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, both theaters. I got out of the military 7 years short of a 20-year career, and that doesn't happen that much. And the reason I did is because the longer I was in the military and the more I saw what America did abroad and what we were really, our true motivations were, it made me realize that America was not on the right path. And I would talk to Iraqis and say, hey, why do you hate America so much? And they would say, you invaded our country, you blew our neighborhoods up. Started realizing, shit, maybe we're the bad guys. So, coming back home.
Like, the easiest thing to say to this guy is to basically be like, wow, well, I didn't have to join the military to see that. Fuck you, right? I mean this sincerely. I think it's because I'm fucking Turkish and not from, like, I didn't grow up in America that I don't have such a hardline stance on people like this. I don't know. Like, people in America will oftentimes be like, well, tell that to a guy who was victim to this kind of violence. Like, tell that to a Iraqi person. But I feel like people over there are way more chill about like even veterans that have done horrible shit that like understand that it was fucked up and are actually actively working against it. You know what I mean? It's more so like the more like aggro stance often comes from like Americans that want to feel a sense of like moral superiority. It's at the heart of like purity politics in some ways. It masquerades as like an act of self-defense and solidarity, but dude, I can't believe it. Someone came in and did this shit. That's so funny. Remember we were talking about this earlier? Like some dude tuned in on mobile and at that time I had 6K viewers when he first tuned in. So like almost an hour ago. He tuned in almost an hour ago. Waited for like, holy shit, I'm kidding, Lamau. Oh, okay. All right. Well, some people do that unironically. The thing is, if you're American and haven't joined the military, you're still profiting off the military actions and still complicit. I mean, that's irrelevant. That's not even the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, yeah, people do fucked up shit. You have to focus on rehabilitation. You have to always, as your first principle, you have to believe that people have the capacity to change and learn from their actions and demonstrate the capacity to change. You have to give them the space to be able to do so. And it certainly requires a level of acceptance that I think a lot of Americans just don't have. They're so draconian. Cancel culture is a part of it. Purity politics is a part of it. And it also even extends all the way to our criminal justice system. Like as someone who believes in criminal justice reform, I'm firmly committed to this cause that people, no matter how heinous their crimes may be, especially if they're a product of the system that they were born into, that they have the capacity to change. That's it.
Getting off the Kool-Aid and realizing what my country really is, which is a place where white supremacy has never been held accountable. White supremacy is the root of this whole thing, and it's never been held accountable. There's never been a time where we corrected the wrongs of white supremacy. And so we're taught from a young age to put our hand over our heart and declare our allegiance to a flag, but that flag never declares its allegiance back. In a relationship where love is only sent one way, that's toxic. If my own child was in a relationship and they loved their significant other, but their significant other ignored them, wouldn't provide them housing, wouldn't take them to the hospital when they were sick, wouldn't feed them when they were hungry, wouldn't let them in when they were cold, then I would tell my child to get the hell out of this toxic relationship. But yet here in America, we're told to stay in that relationship because that's patriotism. Patriotism is demanding better of your country. And where we're at now is where America was always heading because we chose not to hold white supremacy to account and because we chose not to provide the most basic needs of a society.
Iraqi Wizard says, I've spoken to soldiers when I was young. Most literally said they regret their choice or how they felt bad that America is invading. I always found it odd how honest some of them were. Yeah, dude. I mean, obviously, you're still the primary victim in that situation because that motherfucker's there and he's got a gun. You know what I mean? And he can kill you and get away with it. So obviously, it's ridiculous. But yeah, check logs. Good story about meeting an Israeli. I was out flying from Palestine. An Israeli showed up and told me he was Israeli, and I immediately thought I'd get abused by him. And we proceeded to have a convo about how fucked up the IDF does, and he regrets what he did. I tried to get him into activism. He wasn't really up for it, but I'm glad that I gave him a chance. Yeah, this isn't Jewish exceptionalism before people fucking freak out, okay? This is understanding. This is understanding that every little bit helps. Always remember that, okay? It's quite difficult to go up against these incredibly cruel systems that have been designed to normalize this kind of violence, okay? There's no recognition from politicians. There's no real democratic process. If you understand that, then you understand that in order for change to happen, you need every person you can get on board. You just got to chip away at it every single day. That's why I don't immediately cast people aside. Obviously, that doesn't mean I'm going to be a sucker, right? Like, this charitability doesn't extend to people who are malicious actors. It doesn't. But I do have to, I wait a little bit to read the room, to see how someone behaves. Hassan, you sound so scared of your chat. This is one of my favorite idiotic terms that I hear in the chat. It's like, I yell at my chat all the fucking time, dumbass. Shut the fuck up. There has never been a moment where it's not my way or the highway. Like, people come in here and they go, oh, you're fucking worried about how your community is going to react if you say something or do something. It's like, no, I'm not. That's why there's unlimited clip compilations of me fucking yelling at people who are woke of the day, for example. Doing it right now, as a matter of fact.
And so when this is over, we can't go back to the status quo.
Anyway, just we took a sidestep there, but just a reminder, if you're active duty, you have no obligation to follow an unlawful order. It is literally something that you do not have to do. Anyway, Sam Husseini, my goat, he is a journalist. He says, Petro's speech is getting far too little attention, including in the left media. It was deeply humanistic. Here's one component from the speech. Let's take a look. He says, there's no superior race. There is no chosen people of God. It is neither the United States nor Israel. The chosen people of God is all of humanity. That's what he said. Every one soldier, there's like this. There's like 4 like this that brag about fucking kicking kids in Afghanistan. The first time Fred kicked a kid in Afghanistan, he pointed an imaginary AK at me. No chocolate for him. Wait, what? Yeah, bro, there's fucking psychos. Remember, dude, chatter. Remember, this is the American military we're speaking of, okay? Which means it's going to be very diverse, and it is going to have a multitude of different opinions, okay, within each person who's serving. And there's gonna be some fucking freaks, dude. Of course. I never said that there aren't motherfucking freaks. Yeah, there's degrees to this shit. That's why I don't have a issue shitting on veterans, okay? This is something I talk about all the time. On the one hand, like I said, I don't automatically assume that just because someone's a veteran that they're like a fucking war criminal, monstrous piece of shit and their worldview is awful or whatever. But I also don't do the opposite either. Because on the opposite end of the spectrum, you got those who just do that like aesthetic posturing where it's like, thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for defending my free speech. Like, I don't do any of that shit either. Okay? I don't do any of that shit either. You know this. I mean, there's one veteran with an eye patch that I talked big shit about, if you recall, in a very famous incident that got me in a lot of trouble at the time. Okay? Calm down. You just got to treat people like people. Okay? That's my point. My point is, no, not Big Boss, not my goat. Not Iroquois Pliskin, Big Boss, Snake. I'm talking about the loser with the eye patch. I would never talk shit on Big Boss. Okay? Hassan was a Trump supporting idiot, and I checked out your content out of pure curiosity, and now I'm the loudest Marxist-Leninist in my family. Thanks, King. Hell yeah. Did you see Theo Von say Free Palestine? Theo Von's been saying Free Palestine, bro. Iroquois Pliskin is his son. Yes. Solid Snake. I was born in Israel. I served in the army, and only a few months before 7/10, I started watching your stream. It was only thanks to you I changed my mind and became an anti-Zionist. See, there you go. Anyway, where the fuck were we? So yeah, we got Petro, my goat. We'll talk about Laura Loomer as well. But first and foremost, breaking news. This administration is so incredibly invested in relitigating old wounds. Okay? They are so imaginably invested in relitigating old liberal wounds, old grievances that they have from the first administration, that they're just having this like incredibly broad loyalty pledge that ends up attacking a shit ton of liberals. Okay? Which I will recognize, I will admit, and I don't really know if I should even be saying this out loud. This is good because they're not making a distinction between like radical elements or anything like that. They're just straight up saying, if you've demonstrated basic empathy, you're our op, you're our enemy. If you say, you know, racism is wrong, you're our fucking op, you're our fucking enemy. This causes them to go after less vulnerable targets, if that makes sense. This is so stupid. Like we're in an unprecedented crisis of credibility for the FBI. You got Kash Patel running the show. It's a clown show. Okay? And now, not only has the government, under the direct orders of Donald Trump, indicted former FBI Director Jim Comey for literally nothing. Okay, it's very silly. Previous prosecutor said, "I can't find anything that's prosecutable. What do you want me to do?" Donald Trump fired him, put in a different person in his place, and then she dropped a case on Jim Comey like 4 days after she took over the role, right? Now, on top of that, the FBI is firing agents that were photographed kneeling during the 2020 racial justice protests. This is quite literally just an exercise of futility. It's an exercise of pettiness, okay? This is what you do when you're like, I will never forgive and never forget how they made me feel in 2020. Okay? It's so funny that is where these guys are at. So, number one, they did this shit. The FBI's fired agents photographed kneeling during the 2020 racial justice protests. And number two, they're going after Portland, Oregon. Now, the reason why I think this is funny, and the reason why I'm saying this has nothing to do with like current needs, right? Like, they're not even trying to manufacture a crisis and then try to tackle that crisis militarily. They're just going after Portland because Portland has been an unhealed wound in the minds of national conservatives. They just constantly pointed to Portland. Portland's always on fire. Portland is out of control. Portland's going crazy. We got to do something about it. And Donald Trump did in 2020. He literally sent BORTAC units, the SWAT team basically, for ICE, to go to the streets of Portland and black bag people, okay? Just like literally apprehend them in the streets in unmarked vans with military gear. They did that, okay? But Portland right now, there's nothing going on. Like, yeah, there's protests, right? There's ongoing protests against ICE, but it's happening in every city. Like, there's nothing particularly unpleasant that's taking place in Portland currently that isn't taking place everywhere else, from Illinois to Los Angeles, in Chicago to Los Angeles, to many other parts of the country where there are ICE apprehensions taking place. The only reason why he just came out of nowhere and decided that Portland has to be tackled with the military is because they just don't like Portland. That's it. It's just like Portland is like a symbol for what conservatives despise about their neighbors and their politics. Okay. Also, doesn't this feel like a distraction, or am I tweaking? No, these are not distractions. If it's an actual initiative by the federal government to like exercise military power over certain areas that they just don't like because of the politics demonstrated by said areas, then it's not a distraction. That is the main course, okay? That is the actual event. This is the actual event, okay? And here we are. We're obviously going to talk about the new NSPM 7 labels, common beliefs as terrorism indicators. It's just like anti-capitalism, anti-fascism, things of that nature. Basically, you know, whatever you hear at the Hasanabi broadcast is now considered a terrorism indicator. Wonderful. Anyway, let's take a look.
Here to Live now from Fox. We do have some breaking news for you. We're learning here that President Trump is going to be sending troops to Portland, Oregon. Here's what we're learning. He said today he's going to send those troops there to handle, quote, domestic terrorists as he expands his deployments to more American cities. He made the announcement on social media, and we're going to share that post here with you right now. Let's read it. It says, at the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I'm also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This just coming out on Truth Social moments ago. President Trump said the decision, as you just heard there, was necessary to protect U.S. immigration and customs enforcement facilities, which he described as under siege from attack. Now, since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, President Trump has escalated his efforts to confront what he calls the, quote, radical left, which he blames for the country's problems with political violence. Earlier in September, President Trump had described living in Portland as, quote, like living in hell, and said he was considering sending in federal troops as he has recently threatened to do to combat crime in other cities, including Chicago and Baltimore. He deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles over the summer and as part of his law enforcement takeover in the District of Columbia. In Tennessee, Memphis has been bracing for an influx of National Guard troops. And just yesterday, Republican Governor Bill Lee said they will be part of a surge of resources to fight crime in the city. So once again, we are learning more about this here as this did just come into our newsroom. If there's any more developments, we're going to bring them to you here on Live Now from Fox.
Portland is being invaded by the United States of America. There it is, folks. There you have it. Pentagon officials don't know what full force means. This full force language is not a term commonly used in the Pentagon. No clarity on whether this means active duty troops or National Guard involved. No clarity on whether Trump intends to invoke the Insurrection Act despite the lack of any kind of major rebellion. Pentagon officials, according to Dan Lamothe, who does military affairs at Washington Post, Pentagon officials are seeking clarity on what President Trump means with this post about military forces going into Portland. They have no information to provide at the moment. At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I'm directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I'm also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for attention to this matter. The less popular that they get in the eyes of the population, the more aggressive they get. Okay? Like, people are like, hey, man, we don't like this. Can you fucking fix the grocery prices, please? The more people go, dude, what is this? What is going on? I don't like this. Please fix the housing crisis. The more they go, oh, do you want you want me to be more aggressive? That's what I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing from you that you want me to kill people in Portland with the military. Oh, you want to kill American citizens with the American military as a domestic police force. Got it. That's what you want. It seems like that's the command here. That's what you wanted from me, and that's what you're going to get. Now, this is the reason why I was stressing the importance of not following an unlawful order if you are active duty. Just something to consider. Okay? It is literally in your oath. You pledge an oath to the Constitution. You do not, under any circumstance, have to follow unconstitutional and unlawful orders, okay? Brother, you must be the most vindicated man on this planet. Wallah. Yeah, but it doesn't feel good because there is no cause to celebrate because I'm always predicting the worst shit happening. So when the worst shit does inevitably happen, there is no moment where you go, well, I told you. There's no I told you so moment. In any case, motherfucker put that jacket on purpose. It's a Ralph Lauren jacket. But yeah, Antifa Brigadier Commander at your service. Here it is. Anyway, I guess we can celebrate their incompetence overall. Once again, they are still trying, but this does actually make their efforts. This actually does harm their efforts in general, I think. Because, like, I try to imagine what a competent administration would do in this moment. And I think first they would have to do like a psyop. You know what I mean? Maybe even multiple false flag attacks or something to just like present an imminent threat. Because right now there isn't a lot of appetite for this kind of action by the broader public. Of course, there's this kind of action. There's appetite for this kind of action from like really, really hardline conservative areas that have like imagined a universe where Portland is on fire and they need to be punished by death by the American military so we can like stamp out any sort of like liberalism and leftism that is an imminent threat. But those numbers are not consequential enough. They're not big enough. And even those people will lose their appetite once they see it in action. Here, my Antifa commander hat. I'm going to go to prison, dude. I keep this shit up. I'm going to fucking prison, dog. That's what's going to happen. Need a metal rack like Marshall Zukov to complete the outfit, roll up to the White House asking what you're going to do for some lubrication around here. Anyway.
And we continue to follow our breaking news. Just a short time ago, President Trump announcing on Truth Social that he is sending troops to Portland, Oregon to protect ICE facilities. Now, Portland is just the latest Democratic-run city that the president has either sent or threatened to send troops to in his growing crackdown on immigration and on crime. CNN's Kevin Liptak joins us now from the White House. Kevin, tell us, what more have you been learning about these latest developments here?
Yeah, and there's no question this is an escalation in the president's push to deploy the U.S. military on domestic soil. It follows this pattern. We saw it in Los Angeles. We saw it here in Washington, D.C. If the president choosing Democrat-led cities and states to make this push and really kind of pushing the boundaries of the use on domestic soil of the U.S. military. The president writing on Truth Social this morning that at the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, there are a lot of unanswered questions here. One is the timeline, when exactly we would see these troops arrive into Oregon. We also don't know what types of troops the president is talking about here, whether it's National Guard, whether it's active duty military, and we don't know exactly what legal authorities the president will be relying on, because remember, under law, it sharply limits the use of U.S. troops for domestic law enforcement purposes, and this has really kind of prompted a legal debate after the president did this in other cities around the country. Now, Portland has seen a number of protests around an ICE facility that's about 2 miles south of the downtown. They have been mostly peaceful.
For the record, this will turn into, like, the goal here is to develop so much resentment and foment so much discontent as a reaction to this ridiculous initiative that it does escalate. It's a provocation. Make no mistake, this is 100% clear-cut a fucking provocation. Mr. President, read the Constitution. The function of the U.S. military is to protect us from foreign enemies, not Portland, Oregon. In this country, we have local and state police for law enforcement, not federal troops. Stop deploying the U.S. Army against Americans. I don't think Americans are going to like this. No matter how much smoke motherfuckers have for Portland, like, with the exception of, like, maybe 20% of Trump's base, there are 100% people that were in the military in the past, people that are still in the military, people that have family members that are in the military that are going to look at this and be like, all right, dude, what the fuck are we doing? Dial it back. The only people that will get excited at this is going to be a marginal part of Trump's base. And he doesn't have support to lose right now. I think this chips away at his approval rating. I think this chips away at his approval rating pretty significantly. This is, again, an overreaction from an administration that is fearful. This is an overreaction from an administration that recognizes that they're kind of weak. Why would they care? What do you mean? This is the type of shit that, like, Americans still care about, like Americans care about the military. Like, the average Americans, they think like, oh yeah, the military is like protecting us, you know, from foreign enemies. Like, that's the goal. Like, when they do stuff like this, it kind of betrays. They care about the optics. It betrays the fundamental reason for why the military exists. You know, in their minds, it's like they don't have to think about what the military is doing in Iraq, but like in their minds, there is like there's this idea that, like, at least they're doing, like, they're doing it to protect us, right? It's a false notion, regardless, but like they believe it anyway. Foreign and domestic, dumbass. Yeah, except when it's domestic, it's not fucking Portland, Oregon on a regular Tuesday. That's not what that means. It's literally unconstitutional without an insurrection taking place, which is ironic that Donald Trump is doing it, but I'm not going to get too far into that part too. But like, it's ridiculous to be like, I've just decided I'm invading Portland with the military because I'm bored. Okay? Do you understand how fucking stupid that is? I mean, it's stupid. It's so stupid that even the dumbest American will look at that and go, this is a little crazy. I can't see this. I can't see this going well for Donald Trump. I haven't been wrong so far. So we'll see. I think his disapproval dips even further after this.
But there have been some violent clashes that have led to injuries for federal officers. It's led to arrests.
They did it to LA and his base didn't care. You're wrong. You're wrong. It slowly but surely makes this a story. LA was the beginning. Then he did it to DC. Then he tried to do it to Chicago. There was a lot of pushback. So he's like, all right, we'll scale back from Chicago. Every single time he does this, there are more and more people that go, what the fuck are we doing? Do you understand? Like every single time he does this, there are more people that go, this is objectively unserious. Liberals look at it and go, okay, there is a severe crisis here. We have to take to the streets. Apolitical people go, what the fuck are we doing? This is so insincere. This is so silly. It's the same reason why they look at like Kash Patel leading the FBI and go, I don't trust this institution anymore. It doesn't seem like there are serious people in charge. That's what the apolitical people are seeing when they look at this. And the more these kinds of images take place all around the country, the more discontent grows.
Of some of the protesters. At one point, a guillotine was erected outside the building to Homeland.
Trust me, we all love it, dumbass. As a vet, we love it. Trust me, we all love it. Y'all's approval's rating. Who's y'all, first of all? Are you talking about me? Because I'm not a representative of the Democratic Party. As a matter of fact, I am very angry at the Democratic Party. I'm on the disapproval side on the Democratic Party, and everyone in my community is on the side that disapproves of the Democratic Party, which is why it's down to fucking 30%. I think the faster you socialist fuck. Yeah, I think the faster you snap out of this like left-right dichotomy that you exist under and then realize that like, I care more about policies than anything else. I care more about like the legislative agenda than anything else. I care more about making sure that you get proper health care, for example, than anything else. The faster you will be able to understand what I'm talking about here. I don't really give a shit about any of these things. I don't care about the Democratic Party. I don't defend it unconditionally. Okay. As a matter of fact, I'm very critical of the Democratic Party. But I do like that you're generalizing all vets and like, as a vet, we love it. All the vets in my gun club love it. We're all divorced dads with nothing else going on in our lives. So we think when the government is behaving in this way, no, the faster you stop bitching and leave to the UK to live in a socialism life, you'll be happy. He said the UK. He said, I need to escape this country and go to the UK to experience socialism. Oh, brother. If only you knew. I do believe this guy's a vet, though, for sure, because he is so fucking stupid. Remember when I said not all vets are equal? Okay, not all vets are the same, and that I don't automatically shit on vets across the board, but I do when they explain to me that they're a dumb fuck. This is the dumb fuck that I was talking about. Fucking crayon eating moron. Yeah, you socialist fuck. I bet you'd love socialism in the United Kingdom. This is, by the way, this is the reason why when you go to basic training, one of the first things they teach you is how to fucking wash yourself, okay? How to brush your teeth. You might be like, what the fuck? That's what they teach? Yeah, dude, it's for this fucking clown ass. And he still didn't learn, okay? All right. This guy's awesome. You're dope, Chatter. Twizzy210.
Security department said at the time that was unhinged behavior. And we've also seen President Trump talk about this city over the last week. He said on Thursday in the Oval Office that we're going to get out there. He said, quote, we're going to do a pretty big number on those people in Portland. He called them professional agitators and anarchists. And you saw in his Truth social post today referencing Antifa, the president has taken steps this week to label that group a terrorist organization. Now, leaders in Portland have made pretty clear that they are not welcoming federal intervention. The mayor said this week that, like mayors across the country, I have not asked for and do not need federal intervention. That's the mayor, Keith Wilson. We've also heard from leaders in the city and state just last.
He's a Kai Cenat fan who also he's a big dog is a Kai Cenat fan who also happens to be replying to people about how George Floyd was a scumbag. Bro, he's a child. He's not a child. He's a boomer, I think. God, fucking the mind of some people fascinate me, dude. That's awesome. Like in between replying to people about how George Floyd was a scumbag, he was a drug addict. He's like, hell yeah, Hasanabi reached 240,000 subscribers. I love that. That's my goat right there. Oh, fuck yeah. This is what I voted for. Hell yeah. Look, he just keeps reposting Hasanabi. That's all his output is. That's probably why he's on Twitch. He's like, I love Hasanabi and I love the Donald Trump administration killing my enemies, domestic and foreign. Yo, this guy is awesome. He's posting W or L chat in the Hasanabi chat to like 12-year-olds while simultaneously talking about how the American military has to start killing these goddamn radical Antifa. Respect. You know that motherfucker failed the ASVAB, okay? Didn't even... his score was 1.
Last night, as it seemed clear that this was happening, listen to some of what they said.
I am sick and tired of watching the people in my community getting brutalized because they are immigrants or because they dare to speak up. I am sick and tired of it, and I'm tired of your lip service. Show up and do something!
Boy, I share their frustration. We're trying to use every power we have.
Wait, you found his logs in Kai's chat?
Obviously, we're in the minority.
Badass little kid. Toda phone. Give Toda his phone. Coach races. Races coach. Got timed out. Feet, toes, dogs out. Feet out, toes. You racist. Nah, fuck that. Shit up, bitch. Kai races, racist. Sure, you pussy. Kai races, on God. I would have beat your ass. You lucky it wasn't me. Hey, yo. Wait, is he still in here? I love this guy. Oh my God. This is my new favorite chatter, man. Oh my God. Oh, hell yeah. That's a child, dude. Come on. No, I don't think that's a child. I don't think this is a child at all. I think this is a whole ass adult who behaves like a child online. But you think a 12-year-old gives a fuck about George Floyd one way or another? What are you, crazy? No, this is like a 40-year-old, most likely Hispanic, Iraq war veteran. Okay, that's like, in my mind, that's the profile. Anyway, respect to this guy though, for sure. Keep scrolling. I'm invested now. Remember 9/11? Charlie Kirk. Fuck Fortnite. Charlie. Long live Charlie Kirk. Wait, what? He's English? Okay, maybe he's not Hispanic. I was wrong. How does that? Wait, what? I don't know. Why isn't he responding? Chatter. Wait, is he like a British guy LARPing as an American soldier online? Oh my God. He's a 11-month subscriber too. He says Twizzy210 subscribed to tier 1. They've subscribed for 11 months. Apologize to his Hispanics. Well, I just thought from the fucking photo I saw. Oh my God, is that like a British? What is this? This is the Hodge twins. Here's his tweet. It's insane. Where'd he go? Why isn't he responding? I wish he wasn't so shy. Come back, dude. We love you. Actually, I do. I unironically love you. His Twitch bio says he's the Hispanic Queso. Oh my God. Okay, we're back. Clocked him. Don't fucking play with me. Don't fucking play with me, dude. Don't play with me. Don't do it. I wish he was still in here. God damn it. He's a Hispanic Englishman? No, you can't be both. Is one of the biggest L's for the UK is like the significant lack of Hispanic people, Latino people as a whole. That's like, you immediately feel that in the air. When you land in the UK, that's like one of the first things you recognize, especially if you're like from Los Angeles. You feel it. You feel it in every fucking street corner. You feel it with the food. Straight up. It's a big L. Anyway, let's get back to this.
So you also heard Jeff Merkley and other officials there say essentially, don't take the bait, raising the prospect that sending these troops into Portland could be essentially an effort to try and goad them into conflict. And so it will be very interesting to see how this plays out over the coming days, over the coming week, just as we learn more about what specifically this federal intervention might look like, Danny.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Appreciate you breaking that down for us, Kevin. Thank you.
We're witnessing a new era of political violence. Assassins have tried to murder President Trump twice and tried to kill Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. In Minnesota, legislators and even children attending Mass were gunned down in cold blood in 2 separate incidents. And an assassin targeted and murdered our friend Charlie Kirk. A sniper shot 3 people at a Texas ICE facility, and now more than 200 violent rioters were at a Chicago ICE facility chanting, "Arrest ICE, shoot ICE." At least one had a gun. We've seen this before. We saw it in Portland and with the LA riots. These are not peaceful protests. These are coordinated attacks by radical extremists, and they end now. Anyone who threatens or assaults our federal officers will be arrested and charged federally, not in some liberal state court. Same goes for anyone who's funding and aiding these extremists. You will be dismantled brick by brick. We are taking our country back. Make America safe again.
Roughly 48 hours after a gunman opens fire on ICE's facility, he ironically shoots migrants, but yet we know he was attacking the ICE agents. That was the target. He wrote it in a note. He wrote anti-ICE on a bullet, and yet you had these protesters in the streets shouting, "Arrest ICE, shoot ICE," when in that actual shooting, Rachel, in Dallas, ICE agents went in and risked their lives to try and rescue and bring those detained illegal criminal aliens to some safety, risking their lives. They have been blasted as Gestapo, but you know what I call them, are heroes.
Absolutely.
To go into the line
you can see
of gunfire.
The video inside.
You know what I call
facility,
them?
you
Our
see the
heroes.
migrants-
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. Yeah, look at these dangerous protesters. They're deploying chemical weapons on our big beautiful. Oh shit, that's actually the ICE guys. Never mind. That's right. That's not actually the fucking, that's nothing. That's not the protesters at all. That's actually the ICE agents that are doing that. Okay.
Running from the vans going in, and then you see all of these ICE agents coming out in the opposite direction, running towards the gunfire.
Running towards
in order to rescue.
And that's why they're heroes.
Yes.
Attorney General Pam Bondi wrote this on X: "The Department of Justice will not stand idly by in the face of such lawlessness. At my direction, I am deploying the DOJ agents to ICE facilities and wherever ICE comes under siege to safeguard federal agents, protect federal property, and immediately arrest any and all individuals engaged in any federal crime."
How close do you think we are to a civil war? I think like this is just discontent. That's it. I don't think we're that close. I'm not one of those guys. I've never been one of those guys that's like, it's a civil war. It's a civil war. I think until they just like completely dismantle free speech and due process, you won't actually have like real militancy. I think at most it's going to be mass unrest, and one side is going to have to give. And if there are significant enough numbers, on the people who oppose these kinds of ridiculous actions from the government, then it will most likely cause the government to just like scale it back a little bit, like inevitably fizzle out. And nobody's scared of you, bro. Dog, he's back. First of all, Twizzy, I feel bad that you protected your Twitter account. I meant no harm. I'm not even joking when I say this, like not even a little bit, because it did feel like you ran away for a second because you felt like there were too many eyeballs. I will say I have met Steve Will Do It. I know you wanted to be a part of his LLC. I can put you in contact with him if you want. That's number one. Number two, hogs are always welcome here. Okay, we love At least I do. I love a feet appreciator hog such as yourself. And last but not least, you know, a lot of your favorite content creators that you have on your profile, whether it be Keizo or whatever, like, you know, those are chill ass dudes. I don't know if they would like your worldview if they encountered it, because maybe you need to, you know, really reconsider your footprint, your profile, like what you put out there. But, you know, it is funny for you to have this level of hatred for someone like myself, but then also enjoy the content of so many people that I'm friends with. I don't understand it, but hopefully that'll allow you to reconsider, you know? These are people that I know personally. A lot of these people I've, you know, played sports with, interacted with, mostly positively. So don't know why you're this aggro towards me, but I feel like, I mean, he is also a massive gooner for sure. I mean, I could see that, but, you know, real recognize real on that front. But, you know, maybe you're just having a bad day and you wanted to let off some steam by being like, we got to fucking kill commies or whatever. But, you know, just dial it back. Be normal, man. Be normal. Chill out. This guy's going to hunt and peck typing. You got to give him a little bit to reply. Wait, what? Yeah, Big Dog is gooning on Maine. Why are you so nice? I don't know. I just like... Why am I so nice? Because people have bad days. No one is unironically that angry all the fucking time. Like if he was following like, I don't know, Nick Fuentes or some shit, that would be a little different. But this guy seems like more so a normie that's found himself on Twitch. Like he's fucking, he's spamming the Kai Cenat chat. You know what I mean? He's not like, someone has convinced him that I'm his op, but maybe he can turn it around. Better be careful these days with these psychos, though. It's fine. Why do I get yelled at and this chug gets cuddled? Because the expectation is higher from you. If you're a leftist, you have to present yourself a certain way on the internet. And also, leftists get more annoying. At least hogs are funny in their anger, you know? Also, half the time I get mad at like a leftist is because I'm also demonstrating compassion, and then you're yelling at me for doing so, you know? You just come in and you're like, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you act as though people are a product of their social conditioning? Fuck you. Like, that's why I yell at leftists as well, because I'm like, please stop. It's just, this is my worldview.
We're going to have a little bit later the acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, on because...
This is why you have so many haters. They're just fans trying to get coddled. That's probably what it is.
We're also going to get into the fact that these apps that are tracking the location, that are giving the location of ICE agents, is putting them in increasingly danger.
If you've developed this app, right, and I get it that, you might have an app for like cops that are waiting, speed traps. That's one thing. But I don't know what the other purpose of one of these apps is. They're designed to track ICE and to let people know where ICE is and is going. If you wind up giving a shooter, giving information to a shooter who then uses that to murder somebody, why are you not going to be held culpable for that?
We talked to Jonathan Fahey yesterday, the former ICE director, and I asked him if, this breaks, are these apps breaking laws? Yeah. He makes the case that they will. There's a disclaimer on these apps that says that this is for information only and not intended to obstruct with federal immigration law, but that's exactly what it's doing. Now, connect all the dots, Charlie, very quickly. You see ICE agents and operations are being put on real time on these sites where people can find it. And one party, in this case, the Democrats, continue this insane rhetoric dehumanizing ICE agents as Gestapo in slave patrols. The likelihood that a deranged individual will act upon it, that's exactly what the sort of thing we just saw in Dallas.
An 800% increase in attacks on ICE. Clearly, I think you make a great point, Charlie.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
A protest that erupted after
Yeah, this was a major L for America in general. But before we get to this guy, as I covered yesterday, let's talk about Trump's NSPM 7 labels. They are labeling common beliefs as terrorism indicators. New Order targets anti-Christian, anti-American, and anti-capitalism opinions, with the mainstream media distracted by the made-for-TV drama of James Comey indictment, which, by the way, that's such a non-issue. Like, I know that's a severe violation, right? But it's also a non-issue because it's just like, that's going to handle itself. What are we talking about? Like, that's not a serious, it's a serious setback, but it's also not like a serious problem because there's 0%. Once that gets to court, it's getting thrown out. Like, that's crazy. When people say, oh, is this a distraction? That is a distraction. The reason why I say that's a distraction is because I look through the indictment. It's so ridiculous. It is so fucking ridiculous, but dumbass liberals are so locked in on that because Jim Comey was like a television figure for them. Like, that is, I would go so far as to say, that was like, this is even more ridiculous than the Jimmy Kimmel shit. Because, like, straight up going after, like, random liberals on TV by utilizing the FCC is a violation of the First Amendment. Whereas, like, frivolous litigation that the administration is, like, kick-starting when it's clear that it's not going to go anywhere, I think that's not that... I don't think that's going to be as big of a problem. Twizzy speaks. What did he say? My goat. Yes, bro. You caught me watching the biggest streamer ever. Sorry, Steve, and then I grew up watching Nelk. Like what? Wait, what? Twizzy's back. My goat. Twizzy is back. We're gonna win him over. I promise. He's at the precipice. He grew up watching Nelk. Maybe he's not in his 40s. He talks like a fucking boomer, but perhaps he's not. Anyway, with the mainstream media distracted for the made-for-TV drama of James Comey's indictment, Trump has signed a little-noticed national security directive identifying anti-Christian and anti-American views as indicators of radical left violence. Called the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, it's being referred to as NSPM 7 by administration insiders. This is the first time in American history that there is an all-out government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism, Trump's Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller said, referring to the issuance. To the extent that the major media noticed the directive at all, they, even C-SPAN, incorrectly labeled it an executive order, like this week's designation of Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. Wait, hold on. It's hard to overstate how much different NSPM 7 is from the over 200 orders Trump has frantically signed since coming back into office. An executive order publicly lays out the course of day-to-day federal government operations, whereas a national security directive is a sweeping policy decree for the defense, foreign policy, intelligence, and law enforcement apparatus. National security directives are often secret, but in this case, the Trump administration chose to publish NSPM 7, only the 7th since he's come into office. Previous national security directives have been controversial, even politically earth-shaking. In 1980, for example, President Jimmy Carter signed the top-secret Presidential Directive 59, directing the new nuclear warfighting policies that persisted until the end of the Cold War. When revealed, PD 59 caused a public furor. Similarly, President George W. Bush signed a series of classified national security directives. Similarly, President George W. Bush signed a series of classified national security directives after 9/11, the most famous of which authorized NSA's unlawful domestic intercepts, a directive that wasn't publicly revealed until 4 years later. In NSPM 7, Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence, President Trump directs the Justice Department, the FBI, and other national security agencies and departments to fight his version of political violence in America, retooling a network of joint terrorism task forces to focus on leftist political violence in America. This vast counterterrorism army, made up of federal, state, and local agents, as Trump aide Stephen Miller said, form the central hub of that effort. The thing is, I don't think liberals are even remotely aware of what this is, okay? Or at most, they think that it's just about, radical leftists or something. People that they also don't really like, people that they see as like spoilers to Kamala Harris, even people like myself. It's not. This is a way to utilize all of the intelligence community's powers to actively target and prosecute, investigate, and potentially apprehend anyone and everyone that has exhibited a anti-racist thought, okay, declaring them enemies of the state. This is also directly antagonistic to the First Amendment. This is a significant attempt to outwardly cripple the First Amendment, okay? NSPM 7 directs a new national strategy to disrupt any individual or groups that foment political violence, including before they result in violent political acts. In other words, they're targeting pre-crime, to reference Minority Report. The Trump administration isn't only targeting organizations or groups, but even individuals and entities whom NSPM 7 says can be identified by any of the following indicators of violence: anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, as in people who say anti-immigrant sentiments are born out of racism, extremism on race, as in to say that black people should not be disproportionately targeted. Because remember, by the police. Because remember, this is the front-facing, most marketable positions that they can put out there. Do you understand? It will extend to anyone and everyone that is a liberal, that is someone who is maybe even not a liberal, but goes, I don't think racism is good. This extends to every single person in the United States of America at any given moment. Extremism on gender. What could that be? Hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family. Hostility towards those who hold traditional views on religion, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on morality. These are intentionally vague, but if you look at the combination of what they're singling out, this ranges everywhere from people like myself, people like ourselves in this community, all the way down to your fucking parents that were lifelong Republican voters who might have switched at some point to vote for Kamala Harris or to vote for Joe Biden. Do you understand? The United States requires a national strategy to investigate and disrupt networks, entities, and organizations that foment political violence so that law enforcement can intervene in criminal conspiracies before they result in violent political acts, the directive states. A pre-crime endeavor, preventing attacks before they happen, is core to the post-9/11 concept of counterterrorism itself. No longer satisfied to investigate acts of terrorism after the fact to bring terrorists to justice, the Bush administration adopted preemption. And for a lot of people who were oblivious to what they were doing at the time, this simply meant round-the-clock, 24/7 surveillance in Muslim neighborhoods, trying to find, like, the FBI used to do this all the time, trying to find people who are like, who have like intellectual disabilities and whatnot, to try to goad them into doing something, like to try to radicalize them, then goad them into doing something, and then stopping it ahead of time to basically say, look, we did it. Many such cases took place on U.S. soil, okay? This happened quite a bit. This happened a lot. The FBI used to do this all the fucking time, okay? They would go after like some autistic teenager who's Muslim online, and they'd be like, ooh, you should get some Tenorite at this drop site that we left for you. And then they would apprehend the person and be like, this guy's a terrorist. We apprehended an Islamic terrorist, okay? Overseas, that led to aerial assassination by drones and special operations kill missions. Domestically, it led to a counterterrorism campaign whose hallmark was excessive and illegal government surveillance and use of undercover agents and confidential human sources to trap and entrap would-be terrorists. You don't actually have to do anything wrong for the federal government to try to present an argument, because in this circumstance, it's more so about building a narrative. So I think what they're doing, just like McCarthyism, just like post 9/11 Islamophobia, what they are trying to create here is an intelligence community backed effort to create a narrative of left-wing terror. So basically what they're going after here, what they're going to be going after here is goading people into Fed posting, as we like to call it, and then trying to apprehend people for engaging in acts of Fed posting to create a narrative, or maybe even let a couple of these incidents go, right? Coerce people, intimidate people into taking action, and then letting a couple of them go, and then say, you see, this is a real violent and dangerous endeavor. We must react. Because right now, I mean, if this is a fully competent administration, which it's not, but right now, there isn't a lot of appetite for this kind of thing. There isn't a lot of appetite for this kind of like mass apprehension, right? But the goal is to manufacture some kind of consent for the federal government to start apprehending and arresting anyone and everyone that is remotely demonstrated empathy at any point. This tactic sounds familiar if you are aware of how America's allies have worked, or puppet states, dictatorships, fascist forms of governance all around the world that we've aligned with. We have done this everywhere else. It's called the Jakarta method for a reason. It was first implemented in Jakarta. Now we are turning that same scrutiny and same principled authoritarian fascist technique to the domestic front. Fascism is colonialism turned inward. And this is fascism. This is imperialism and colonialism turned inward. This is happening at the domestic level now. There is a reason why the terrorism designation, albeit vague, has only been utilized for foreign actors. In the United States of America, no matter how many actual designated acts of domestic terror a group participates in or commits, whether it be Atomwaffen or the Patriot Front or numerous other right-wing organizations, there is no internal mechanism for identifying domestic terrorism and prosecuting domestic terrorism at the point of organizing. This has not happened with the KKK either, right? The reason why it has not happened with the KKK or any of these groups is because of the First Amendment. The second reason why it's never happened with right-wing groups, of course, is because they are not considered too disruptive to the pre-existing hierarchies that the American government has consistently defended. This has, however, happened to the Black Panther Party and numerous other black revolutionary groups. During the civil rights struggle, this is precisely what they did with the Black Panther Party and numerous other organizations. They did it. They disrupted it. They infiltrated these groups. They assassinated its leaders. And I suspect that that's what they're trying to do now. However, even with the Black Panther Party and numerous other black liberation organizations, there was still ultimately a foreign actor that they could associate this movement with. At the time, it was the USSR, right? This was during the Cold War still. So they could still associate it with the USSR, or they could still, there still was a lot of racial animosity, way more so than than it exists now. There is racial animosity in this country. White supremacy has not gone away. This is an inherent contradiction that Americans have never addressed, okay, adequately. Having said that, however, the racial tensions in this country at this stage are nowhere near where they were during the civil rights struggle. Okay? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I do not suspect there is enough appetite from the broader base of support, or even just like the broader base of Americans, to allow the government to intercept, infiltrate, and engage in this kind of ridiculous prosecution for any kind of anti-racist organizing, for example. So on the one hand, I don't think liberals are aware of what's coming next. And I keep repeating this over and over again. I talk about how dangerous this is, how worrisome this is, and how un-American this is, even though it has happened throughout different periods of American history in our darkest chapters. But also, on the other hand, I think once it kicks into high gear, more and more Americans will start getting frustrated. Adam Johnson, reports on a similar incident. A federal judge Thursday sentenced a former U.S. Navy sailor to 12 years in prison for plotting a terror attack against a naval station, Great Lakes in Chicago's north suburbs, and seeking to help the Iranian government move radioactive material to the United States. Of course, there were no Iranians involved in this. Reading this headline and article, you would have no idea no Iranians were remotely involved in any of this. Like 99% of FBI foiled terror plots, the plot was a whole cloth invention of the FBI targeting a single dipshit in an elaborate Truman Show style ruse. A reasonable person would come away reading this tweet and article under the distinct impression Iran was attempting to smuggle in radioactive material into the U.S., but they weren't. No Iranian or radioactive material were involved. Some moron simply thought they were because FBI duped him into thinking they were. All of this politically consequential information is lost. The FBI foiled its own plots so they can, 1, scare us about official enemies, and 2, trick the public into thinking they're all Jack Bauer. The vast majority of these foiled plot cases are total horseshit. This is from the Human Rights Watch report from 2014, The Illusion of Justice, talking about exactly what I was saying about the FBI consistently building up a narrative of like Islamic terror at the height of the war on terror, the global war on terror, in an effort to universalize the fears that Americans should feel so they feel more self-righteous and more comfortable with all of the domestic interference in political organizing, and also feel more comfortable with the metric ton of violence that we were dishing out in the Middle Eastern region. Some analyses show, according to Salon.com, that only 1% of quote-unquote terrorists caught by the FBI could actually be said to be quote-unquote terrorists. Like, you know, people who legitimately, on their own, radicalize and choose to take action, and then the FBI infiltrates or intercepts their communications with like a foreign entity or whatever, and then stops them before they actually engage in an act of like stochastic terror. Okay? The overwhelming majority of intelligence community operations of this sort are built around coercion and entrapment. But this, at the very least, plays a formative role in designing a media landscape, especially by pliant media members who will cover this stuff without actually diving into the details to justify what other additional measures that the government may take in terms of mass surveillance and in terms of disruption and creating watch lists and creating an environment of insecurity around any sort of expression of political dissent. That is the overarching goal of the government here. Now, with Donald Trump's directive retooling the counterterror apparatus to go after Americans at home, this means monitoring political activity or speech as an investigative method to discover radicalism. Contrary to other national security documents, all during the post-Watergate era, NSPM 7 doesn't even mention the First Amendment or the fundamental right of Americans to organize and protest. The focus on speech is evident throughout NSPM 7. The directive says that political violence is the result of organized campaigns that often begin with the left, dehumanizing targets in an anonymous chat forums. Okay, peki. Okay, Gündür. Okay. Ya aldım. Okay. My dad is trying to talk to me while I'm reading this thing. Jesus Christ. Hold on. In anonymous chat forums, in in-person meetings, social media, and even educational institutions. Remember, even in college, okay, even in a classroom. To give a sense of how broad this formulation is, Trump's earlier designation of Antifa as a domestic terrorist group was accompanied by a White House fact sheet singling out people who celebrated Luigi Mangione, the alleged killer of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, last December. As I wrote at the time, this describes a lot of Americans. This is not a political singling out of radical potential terrorism or something, okay? This is straightforwardly prosecuting whoever they want to prosecute. Like, this is trying to create an environment where there is just cause to go after whoever the fuck they want. This is so over-encompassing and so broad that it literally has, it's not just people like myself. It's just, this means Trump voters even. You know what I mean? This is anyone and everyone. 1 second. I just have to finish this thing that I'm doing. Okay. Trump's new national security memorandum also alludes to Mangione, but adds to it even larger categories of potential targets. NSPM 7 is fundamentally a law enforcement directive, and it dispenses with the complications of using the active duty military or the National Guard in pursuit of political violence. It directs the Department of Justice to focus the FBI's approximately 200 joint terrorism task forces to the new mission. The FBI network of task forces comprises over 4,000 members, including FBI personnel and task force officers from more than 500 state and local agencies and 50 federal agencies, including special agents, police officers, intelligence analysts, and surveillance technicians. First established in New York City in 1980 to systematize FBI and NYPD cooperation, today there are task forces around the country, including at least one in each of the FBI's 55 field offices. For the Trump White House, the beauty of using an already existing network is that it bypasses congressional oversight and scrutiny and even obscures federal activity to governors and legislatures at the state level. States, cities, and local police have already signed memoranda of agreements with the feds to fight terrorism, and officers are already assigned as task force officers. Okay? Hold on 1 second. NSPM 7 says that the JTTFs shall investigate potential federal crimes relating to acts of recruiting or radicalizing persons for the purpose of political violence, terrorism, or conspiracy against rights, and the violent deprivation of any citizen's rights. These last two parts here are also intentionally vague to be as broad and as over-encompassing as possible, okay? Because some of this stuff, like radicalizing people for the purpose of political violence, directly intervenes with the First Amendment, because you can say that about anyone, right? You can say that about anyone and everyone. Your cook, no. I mean, yeah, this is basically written as a fucking, written as a way to apprehend and single me out as like a fucking domestic terrorist, but it's written in such a way that it also extends to fucking literally David Pakman even, you know what I mean? It's written as a way that this could mean anyone from people like myself all the way to like the Pod Johns, okay? It's not just people like myself. It's not like Jason and Ruhe or whatever. It straight up implies, the way this is written, it straight up implies that if you're like a part of the Satan Church, for example, and you know, you're doing like a fundraiser or a back to school drive or something, you are potentially liable here. You can be prosecuted. You can be investigated. Philip DeFranco, like every single person that has ever conveyed any sort of like anti-racist statement is liable for an investigation or a prosecution. There's a gender indication there that means that if you're gay or trans, again, you could be pegged as an extremist. If you're black or brown and you have exhibited anti-racist tendencies, or if you have participated in any sort of like anti-white supremacist action, anti-ICE protests, extremism on migration, that's what this means. I know a lot of you are laughing at me saying you could be pegged and going, lol, pegged as gay and trans, lol, don't peg the gays and trans, but like you're not understanding the severity of this crisis once again, okay? This is an attempt to criminalize any sort of non-Republican viewpoint. I don't even want to say leftist viewpoint here, okay? I don't even want to say non-Republican viewpoint here, because like this even could potentially criminalize Republican viewpoints as well, as long as they are a Republican that says, yeah, I also think ICE is fucked up. You are now a target. You can be designated as a rhino. The Attorney General shall issue specific guidance that ensures domestic terrorism priorities include politically motivated terrorist attacks such as organized doxing campaigns, swatting, rioting, looting, trespass, assault, destruction of property, threats of violence, and civil disorder. The NSPM 7 says, civil disorder, ? I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but the plain truth is that the NSPM 7 is a declaration of war on anyone who does not support the Trump administration and its agenda. Yes, it repeats the word violent over and over to purport only to go after citizens who are moved to take up arms, but it also directs monitoring and intelligence collection to map and target new evildoers, to borrow a Bush label he took from the Bible just that days after 9/11. Okay? The partisan focus couldn't be more obvious. The real problem is this. Since Charlie Kirk was murdered, a friend of mine assassinated, nothing changed on their side. White House counterterrorism czar Sebastian Gorka told Newsmax after NSPM 7 was signed. Not one leader, not one leftist thought leader, member of Congress, senator, nobody has said we distance ourselves from the violent rhetoric. The left refuses to rid themselves of the justification for violence, Gorka continued. And as such, President Trump is taking measures to protect us from the violent rhetoric that becomes snipers and bullets. Remember, it's not violence that they are combating. It's rhetoric. Okay? It's not violence that they're combating. It's rhetoric. As in, any sort of expression of discontent towards the Trump administration or any number of different actions that they take can be considered violent rhetoric. They are trying to tie you saying, I don't fucking like what ICE is doing, or ICE is Gestapo, or this is Nazi shit, to a false claim that this means like you are opening up a floodgate of enforcement. They are trying to do this. They already tried to do this with material support. They've been trying to do this with material support to terror organizations, trying to claim that speech is material support for terror organizations. Okay? And they're doing it now at the domestic level as well. For the record, as it stands currently in the United States of America, material support does not extend to language. Okay? It is not illegal in the United States of America to even fucking say you support known designated terror organizations. Foreign terror organizations. You can say you support it. It is, up until this moment, not been illegal. We are a nation where fucking David Duke, the grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, ran for office. We are a nation where members of the American Nazi Party run for office. Okay? While you might consider that to be extreme, and I certainly do, the reason for why this has been allowed is partially because of the First Amendment. Now they're taking that away. Another aspect of this is, again, anti-Americanism. Remember, these are the hallmarks of terror, they say. Anti-Americanism. Now think, close your eyes for a brief moment and think, who do the Republicans accuse of anti-Americanism? It's not just those who liberals consider to be radicals themselves. It's everyone. Okay? The entirety of the Democratic Party and its base of support. Who do the Republicans accuse of anti-capitalism? Nancy Pelosi is a communist in the eyes of the Republican Party. Kamala Harris is a socialist communist in the eyes of the Republican Party. Anti-Christianity as well. This is designed to target any and every liberal, any and every person on U.S. soil that has ever looked at what Trump is doing and said, I don't like this. Yeah, reminder, this was a literal candidate that the Republicans propped up, Arthur J. Jones, American neo-Nazi Holocaust denier, and he almost won. Yeah, he's also been a member of the Populist Party, a far-right political party active in the 90s and 80s. Wasn't this the guy who ran in the Illinois district over and over again? And he almost fucking won in the 3rd congressional district in one of the elections. Yeah, he got the most in Illinois' 3rd congressional district general election in 2018. He was the Republican that got the most votes. He got 25%, 26%. Of course, another part of this story is the question, the obvious question, is there a difference between far left extremism and far right extremism? And the answer, of course, is yes. Now, I'm biased. I'm obviously biased. But think for a brief moment. We are billed as far left extremists. And as far left extremists, we believe that everyone should have health care. We believe that the interests of profits cannot go over the interests of the people. We believe that everyone should have more autonomy in the workplace. We believe that people should have free education all the way up to the college level, no matter what their background looks like. We believe in a more tolerant approach to immigration instead of immediately deciding that things we don't understand are awful and scary and must be excised and destroying America. We believe that these populations are actually helpful to build this multifaceted, diverse American culture. Is that the same as the exact opposite of this position, to target people due to inalienable traits and characteristics and then punishing them and putting them in concentration camps and kicking them out of this country? I don't think so. Fantastic stuff. That is where we're at, though.
ICE agents arrested the head of Iowa's largest school district. Immigration officials say Des Moines Public School Superintendent Ian Roberts was considered an ICE fugitive and was living and working in the country illegally. Lana Zach brings us more from Iowa.
Protesters rallied outside of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration offices in Des Moines Friday, stunned by the arrest of Public School Superintendent Ian Roberts, an immigrant from Guyana.
The general public, I think, is not okay with what's happening.
In a targeted enforcement operation, Roberts allegedly fled before being arrested. Officials say inside the vehicle he was driving, they found thousands of dollars in cash and a loaded handgun. It is a crime for someone without legal status to possess a firearm.
We do not have all the facts. There is much we do not know. However, what we do know is that Dr. Roberts has been an integral part of our school community.
Roberts became superintendent of Iowa's largest school system in 2023. The district says he disclosed that he had previously pled guilty to a minor firearms charge.
We have a plan to reimagine education here for the future in Des Moines.
But they say they were not aware of a deportation order issued last May.
Bro, this guy's this guy's a literal stud, okay? He's so awesome. A go-getter, an overachiever. The very fact that this is the type of person that this administration is actively trying to deport from this country, a role model, a pillar of the community, someone who is an overachiever by every metric, like a good person, but not just a good person, but like an Olympic athlete. Like, this is who we have to get out of the country? Are you fucking insane? This makes no sense. Like, go ahead, try to explain this to people. Unless you are straight up a Klansman who sees a black person and goes, hell yeah, I'm glad that we got this scary thug out of here. Like, most people are going to look at this and be like, why the fuck are you kicking this guy out? There's like a million dumb fuck dipshits I think would be better served if we kicked them out than this guy. Like, what the fuck? And he is the norm, for the record. Like, he is an exceptional person. His background is exceptional. Okay, his background is exceptional, but there are plenty of people who also play a formative role who play a major role in their communities. Like, I can't believe it. A lady called her Iowa congressman's office and popped the fuck off.
Congressman Nunn's office. How can I help you today?
Hi, I want to know why Mr. Nunn has not done anything about the administration and ICE detaining my children's superintendent today.
Yes, ma'am. Hi. The congressman is aware of the situation with Dr. Roberts. It is deeply unfortunate.
It's not deeply unfortunate. It's deeply illegal. 8 USC 1357. ICE does not have the right to detain U.S. citizens. Calling it unfortunate is offensive. They're fascists. What's he gonna do about it? What the is he gonna do about it?
Ma'am, the congressman is aware of the situation.
Aware isn't enough. What action is he taking?
Ma'am, all I can say is that the congressman is aware of the situation.
Okay, that makes it worse. Him being aware of the situation and a U.S. citizen, my children's superintendent, still being detained illegally is worse. That's worse. I was hoping maybe he hadn't heard of it yet, and that's why he was doing nothing for the people of this district. But in fact, he knows that the people of this district are being harmed by him, and he's just sitting back doing nothing. Shame on him, and shame on you for working for him. I hope you all go to prison. Have a terrible day.
Trump won the city of Des Moines 55-45. Iowa is red as fuck. Red state, white people fired up. This is hugely a good sign. Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think Des Moines, Iowa fucks with this decision. Are there obvious, like, straight up Klansmen that are going to look at this and be like, hell yeah, brother, this is why I voted for? Sure. But I don't think the people, the normal whites are going to look at this and be like, great, I'm so glad you have apprehended an overachieving, beloved figure that is a pillar of this fucking community. You're talking about a guy, like, this is where the DEI hire narrative becomes even clearer than before. Obviously, it's a way to just like say, oh, that's a black person. He didn't deserve to be here. We all know that. But this is where it becomes undeniable when you got a dude who has a fucking PhD and has done numerous lectures and is like an Olympic athlete, an Olympian, okay, who rose through the ranks and became the superintendent of the district, like, and is a beloved figure in the community, getting treated like a criminal. I don't see this. I do not see this being great for the administration. This is even worse in terms of the reception from the broader population that's impacted by this. This is even worse than like the random hairdressers getting apprehended and detained and shipped off to El Salvador. That is a crime against humanity in and of itself as well. Make no mistake. But now you're just going after like straight up notable figures in the community. It's only bad if you assume that public opinion and voting will still matter. I don't know why you think that when I talk about broad public sentiment shifting, that I'm actually referencing like a midterms that may or may not happen. I'm talking about broad public sentiment shifting and then there being extreme levels of discontent. In the absence of a pressure valve such as midterm elections or any sort of punishment that you can do through the democratic process, I promise you, people will let their voices be heard. I'm not talking about the midterms. I'm talking about right now. What is this? Disagree. His parents were blue hood, white moderate Republicans from the Chicago suburbs. He was never being named something that wasn't in the Bible. Illinois is like a protected habitat for this type of Republican. They're practically extinct elsewhere. They'll randomly surprise you by being weirdly well-informed and principled on the U.S. Azerbaijan policy or something like that. This is what Charlie was said to be back when he was knocking doors from Mark Kirk, but Con Inc. robbed him of it. Every time Tammy Duckworth quotes a Black Sun edit that the official DOD account posted and says, the flag is folded wrong here, I think about how Illinois used to have a true heir to Lincoln. They took him out because he revealed Graham's dry streak. Senator Mark Kirk regrets calling Lindsey Graham a bro with no hoe. I do think this is a much more propaganda influenceable situation. If the admin can blow up the illegal gun, etc., narrative, they can win on this in a state like Iowa. It depends entirely on how well known this guy was before all this happened and how hard it'll be to tarnish his reputation. Low info voters are always easy to fool. Dude, saying that a guy had a gun in Iowa is crazy. Yeah, of course he had a fucking gun, man. It's Iowa. What are we talking about? You're not thinking about this in the perspective of Iowans. Obviously, white Iowans, when they see a black guy with a gun, they automatically assume crime. But like even then, especially if he is a beloved figure in the community, it's not, you know, I mean, he's the fucking superintendent. Hold on. White people love authority and is a superintendent. Stephen Miller thinks he's a threat. Yeah, Governor Newsom's press office. Stephen Miller is a fascist. Why do you think they posted this? I'm telling you, like, right now, low-key, I get mad at Gavin Newsom, but he is like a magnet, dude. He is like a magnet for conservative discontent at this moment. So I'll take it. I'll fucking take it. He just keeps chirping over and over and over again, knowing full well he's like, yeah, do something about it. And I'm glad that they're just like actively getting mad at him and not actively getting mad at like random people, okay? Random American citizens they want to fucking target and prosecute much easier than someone like Gavin fucking Newsom. Yeah, they responded with, because you're a fascist. Because it's true. I just can't believe they took this dude out.
Roberts is accused of overstaying a student visa issued in 1999. In a statement, the local ICE director tells CBS this should be a wake-up call for our communities to the great work that our officers are doing every day to...
Like, that's crazy. Nah, it is a wake-up call for the communities, just not in the direction that you think, dumbass. That's what it is. It quite literally is a wake-up call that this is what ICE does. They take out people who are doing incredible work. They actively go after people who are doing fantastic work, serving their communities in ways that ICE never could dream of. Calling this guy a public safety threat when he is so clearly not, I think, will open up a lot of normal people's eyes to the reality of what ICE is doing. Because it is the diametrical opposite of what Donald Trump presented as combating and targeting, which was violent criminals, violent, scary, monster criminals that the previous woke administration was too cowardly to go after. And then this is who you're fucking apprehending. Get out of here. Get out of here. I'm sorry. If you look at a guy like this and you go, that's a villain, automatically, a guy with a resume like this, if you look at a guy with a resume like this and you say, no, he deserved it, you are straight up a fucking grand wizard of the Klan, okay? Like, I don't even think regular racists would openly be like, yeah, this guy needed to go. Like, he is so above and beyond that, like, the average racist that's just like, I don't know about black people, I don't know about Mexicans. Like, the average racist would look at this guy and be like, oh, maybe you should have let this guy go. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. That's fucking nuts. Yeah, handsome Olympian PhD holder, superintendent, swagged out to the fucking max. Just a wonderful beacon in his community. And these guys are like, nope, yeah, he's got to go. I think you're sleeping on the average races. No, man. I'm saying that there is levels to this shit, okay? There's levels to this shit. I'm not saying that the average race is a good guy. I'm saying you don't have to be a good guy to think this is a bad thing. Do you not understand? This is not about like good, bad dynamics here. I'm saying even bad people would look at a situation like this and go, okay, this is a bridge too far, okay? That's it. You're sleeping on the difference between New Jersey and Pennsylvania races and Iowa races. You live too long on the coast, I'm afraid. Dog, the Iowa races that sends his school still actually has encountered this superintendent. And if he's like a polite guy, they will literally go, I don't know, he might be one of the good ones. You know what I mean?
Remove public safety threats.
I love Dr. Roberts. Like, he has been a wonderful superintendent for us.
Roberts, a former Olympic athlete, had been well liked by many in the community. And while some are now questioning what background checks were done by the school district, others are questioning the motivation behind the arrest.
He was targeted specifically because he won't give access to ICE to arrest our kids. And we are 100% behind him.
For CBS Saturday Morning, Lana Zach in Iowa.
Oh, I could totally see that too.
Tonight, students, parents, and community
I didn't even think about that. I'm telling you, man, look at that crowd. That's one day. That's day one, okay? I'm telling you, that's day one. Chatter said New Jersey and PA as if they aren't filled with Nazis. Guys, there are unimaginably racist people everywhere, okay? There are unimaginably racist people everywhere in this country. Wake the fuck up, okay? But y'all are being crazy if you think that, like, what do we always talk about? Republicans are the leopards are eating my face party, okay? This is for some, this will be a leopards are eating my face moment, okay? That's all I'm saying. It's kind of like voting for anti-abortion initiatives and then actually experiencing that. When it becomes real, it's different. This is a moment where it becomes real for everyone in fucking Des Moines, Iowa. Not every single person that looks at that is going to go, hell yeah, I'm glad they did this, okay? It already probably pissed off every single liberal, every single Democratic Party voter in the area, okay, in a 150-mile radius to begin with. It also woke up a lot of the apoliticals into action. But not only that, but I'm telling you, there are probably Republicans in the margins that will still, it pissed off all the independents and even some of the Republicans, okay? There is no coalition you can keep up when you do stuff like this. No, you're right about this. Various Republicans I follow who lived in the town where the Haitian migrant hysteria thing happened were super put off by the Haitian migrants eating pets thing and actively called it out. You got to remember the mindset of like the normie, okay? The normie is not as fucking tuned into this shit as you are. A big chunk of that is obviously privilege. A big chunk of that is also because they're too busy with their own shit, okay? But when something like this is beamed into their television screens, all of a sudden they go, "What the fuck is this? Hey, yo!" Like you're thinking that every single person is as like tuned into everything that's happening in the real world as you are and actively making a decision to ignore it or champion it. That's not the case. For the normies, there are still dudes out there. There are still plenty of fucking normies out there that you could potentially encounter that have no opinion on Israel-Palestine, for example. This is the most consequential issue right now in global affairs. A genocide is taking place. We're paying for it with our tax dollars, right? For you guys, that seems impossible to avoid. I promise you, there are a fuck ton of apolitical normies who are just like, I don't really know what's going on. I don't want Israel, Palestine. What is it? I haven't really tuned in. I promise you. The average person is also not Stephen Miller or Trump levels of evil. They aren't automatically the furthest right because they're uninformed, chat. Exactly. They have fears, hysterical fears, because they have beamed Fox News into their collective consciousness. Okay? But this becomes real. All of a sudden, this is on their doorstep. Why do you think I always talk about discontent growing on Trump's immigration agenda? After people start realizing that means people are getting apprehended at the grocery stores. Because there's a difference between championing a cause online or championing a cause in theory by believing the bullshit hysteria surrounding said cause versus seeing it in front of you. I talk about this every day, so I'm shocked that people don't understand when it happens once again. Like the other day, ICE came in and apprehended a grocery store clerk, right? In broad daylight, in the middle of the fucking day. People took out their phone cameras and started filming. How much you want to bet there were Republicans there that were also grossed out by that process? That's the difference between talking shit to someone online, for example, and then talking to them in person. The energy is very different because the humanity of the person that's being harmed is impossible to look in the other direction of. That's why I say there's levels to this shit. Okay, that's why I say there's levels to like how racist someone thinks they are even versus how racist they are in the real world. Valentina Gomez comes to mind. A fantastic example. I told you guys, Valentina Gomez was getting so many likes on Twitter when she was running for treasury of her whatever state that she's in. I forget where it was. Was it Missouri? She was running for treasurer, right? And she kept talking. She kept like saying the F slur and saying we have to kill all F words and we have to kill all trans people, all this stuff. And she was getting hundreds of thousands of likes. And you guys were like, look how racist these people are. These people are, she's going to win. I was like, no, she's not. Because I'm willing to bet that even in a state like Missouri, even in Republican company, if she talked like that in polite society amongst other Republicans, unless she's literally in a fucking Klan meeting, people would tell her to shut the fuck up. Republicans would tell her to shut the fuck up. And guess what? She got like 7th place in that fucking treasurer's race. She got the most amount of clout on Twitter though, but she got 7th place. There is a difference between what you can get away with. There's a difference between what you can get away with online and what you experience in the real world. I'm not suggesting this is an unwinnable conflict for our side. I'm saying Iowa is the worst case scenario state. This isn't reddish purple state. Chat. Trust me when I say this. Trust me when I say this. Iowa will shock you. Okay? Every part of this country will shock you. If you don't understand the theory that is already implemented, the theory that you are experiencing in action, okay, every part of this country will surprise you. Because when this kind of action comes to their neighborhood, when this kind of enforcement comes to their neighborhood, there is a very different attitude. And the example I kept using over and over again. And no, I'm not talking about Iowa voting for Obama twice, guys. Stop. I'm not talking about that at all. This is not about politics. This is about something different. This is about human behavior, okay? This is about how human behavior works online versus how human behavior works in the real world, okay? This has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican and everything to do with people seeing this kind of action be implemented and then immediately going, that's not for me, okay? Think about it like experiencing an ick, okay? I promise you there aren't that many people, even in the Republican Party, that go around and watch things like this happen in broad daylight, in real time, in front of their own eyes, and go, hell yeah, this is what I voted for, let's go. I'm not saying there aren't people like that at all. Of course there are, but they're fucking freaks. They're like the lady who goes to the Starbucks to be like, you didn't sufficiently serve me my Charlie Kirk latte, okay? They're gross. They're monsters. They get a lot of play online, but in the real world, it will cause other Republicans to look at them and go, oh, what the fuck? You like this? This is crazy. And then also on top of that, you got the tariffs long dicking in a place like Iowa, as Corso is correctly pointing out. So their financial situation is not improving. So obviously, when you got a bunch of states that are already potentially experiencing recession, they're not going to be like, there's anything hopeful about this administration. All I've seen is just like insane enforcement of like non-criminals, beloved figures in the community. Get the fuck out of here. Especially in the absence of receiving treats, the Republican will look at a situation like this and go, maybe this is my breaking point. If they were getting treats and they saw this kind of stuff, maybe they would say, well, at least I'm still getting something out of this administration. But the very fact that they're not getting something out of this administration and they're doing this is going to cause more discontent.
Are coming together to show their support for Roberts.
We will love one another. We will stand for what is right. We will stand for justice.
I think you underestimate people. I'm sorry, but on the ground in Nashville, I don't see this becoming a thing. They don't care. First of all, Nashville is already fucking blue, so you're wrong. Your opinion is warped on that regard. And number two, Nashville hasn't seen this yet to the same degree. As far as I can tell, maybe there has been a high-profile incident, but like I cover all this stuff, and I haven't seen something like this happening in Nashville yet. But trust me, if it does, dude, we live in a country where the overwhelming majority, in the immediate aftermath of the execution of George Floyd, the overwhelming majority population agreed with burning down the police precinct. I think you guys have totally fucking subscribed to the media narratives about how reactionary the average American is. And to a certain degree, it's true. Okay? Like, I think we forgot. And in a country where people love cops, okay, because of a steady flow of propaganda, people love policing as an institution, okay? But you are oblivious if you think that the average person that doesn't really pay attention to this stuff could not be radicalized on the spot when they see something like this happen in their backyard. There's a difference between fantasizing about crime happening in blue cities hundreds of miles away versus having the military roll tanks through your fucking streets. Nobody wants the military to roll tanks through their fucking streets, not even Republicans. Okay? Especially when they realize in that very moment, maybe crime isn't all that bad. What the fuck is this shit? That's it. And for the record, look no further than abortion. I keep going back to this over and over again, okay? I keep going back to this over and over and over again. Look no further than abortion. Republicans that thought that they wanted abortion restrictions forever, literally once implemented, were like, okay, I didn't want that at all. I didn't want it. What the fuck? I didn't realize, like, if my daughter is sexually assaulted, like, I want to be able to get a fucking abortion. Or if my wife has an ectopic pregnancy. I want to be able to get this abortion. What the fuck? All right.
For justice.
State Representative and Reverend Rob Johnson put out a call for concerned citizens to join him at Corinthian Baptist Church in Des Moines. Roughly 200 people answered that call and cheered him on as he expressed his support.
But I want to be very clear. We're not just going to throw Ian Roberts away.
But tonight's rally wasn't just a way to show support. It was a demand for change. Betty Andrews of the Iowa-Nebraska NAACP encouraged attendees to take action not just for Roberts, but other individuals detained by ICE.
It's concerning. We are concerned. But we're here today with all of you, monitoring, making sure, and letting our voice be heard.
Community leaders encouraged unity in a time of disconnect and hope in the face of fear.
Christian influencers, okay. You said, we talked about the woke right, and you said.
So this is Benjamin Netanyahu doing a conference with social media influencers after his horrible speech that he delivered. Oh, by the way, actually, you know what? Before I get to this, I do want to talk about Dr. Ian Roberts being picked up by ICE. This is from the St. Louis Reddit. There's a lot of details about who this guy is and his background and stuff. Hold on. My mom is here, so Kai is freaking out. Anyway, Benjamin Netanyahu's I'm not talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. Sorry. I don't know why. I just reset my brain for a second. I want to give you guys a little bit more into the background of this person from people from the actual subreddit itself, from r/St. Louis. Today, does anyone here have experience with this educator from St. Louis Public Schools? According to LinkedIn, he was an administrator with SLPS from 2015 to 2018. He's been the superintendent of schools in Des Moines, Iowa for the past 2 years. Today, ICE picked him up in Des Moines. According to media reports, he has an order removed from the year 2024 and no work authorization. He reportedly ran from cops and when captured had a loaded handgun and $3,000 in cash. He has a previous gun charge, which, again, according to media reports, is a felony because people here without legal authorization are not supposed to have guns. It may be that the previous gun charge was not a big deal. It had to do with hunting activity. This is a big deal in Iowa. Anyone know him? This person says, he was my direct supervisor in St. Louis Public Schools 10 years ago. Stand-up guy who was passionate about helping kids. Really supported me as a new principal. This is good to know. Do not believe a priori the report about the handgun and cash. ICE will simply make shit up now. They're totally unaccountable. Again, healthy amount of skepticism and scrutiny towards federal law enforcement, especially ICE. For ICE, I definitely agree with that kind of scrutiny, but I don't think that it was bullshit. I could totally see him having a gun, for the record, because it's fucking Iowa. It's normal, okay? The notion that this would be the notion that this would be considered something so severe that it's punishable with deportation is fucking ridiculous. It's just more of a, it's more proof that he's just an American, okay? I attached the first article from Des Moines newspaper. He's the district. Here has the district's reaction to information about the issues you raised. Friends who worked with him said he was a friendly professional, knew his stuff. Friends from Des Moines say this was a hit because he wouldn't let ICE into the school buildings to grab kids. I'm an educator in Des Moines. The idea of this being a targeted hit is accurate. At least it feels like it. ICE has published inaccurate information in their official releases indicating he entered the country in 1999 on a student visa, but he graduated from Chopin State in 1998. So there's definite credibility question of his final order to vacate timeline. They also try to smear him with an old weapon charge, even calling it criminal, when in truth it was a hunting rifle in the backseat of his car that he paid a $100 ticket for. They also suggest he had no work authorization, but he was approved by a third-party betting source when we hired him, vetting source when we hired him, and had a complete I-9 with all appropriate and requirement documentation. Thank you for all your input. I know the West Des Moines School District does federal background checks and other extensive ones. This is the same for DSM District that blows credibility as well. It's crazy, man. That's actually crazy. People need to understand his previous gun charge was legally valid hunting, leaving a legally valid hunting rifle in his vehicle. Any guns he owned were perfectly legal until his status was revoked. A review of this man's history shows him to be anything other than a criminal. I'm questioning the ICE narrative and the narrative of the media putting on him. He entered in on a student visa in 99, yet he legally attended Coppin State since 1995. The only statement I can find from him regarding immigration is that his parents immigrated, and here he says he's a U.S. citizen. This appears to be a hit and a smear campaign. Here he states he was born in Guyana. This is the more interesting response. He states in his birth in Guyana and an interview in Brooklyn. Other people put together he's maybe been here since he was 5. So we're looking at either residence in the USA since childhood with no restrictions on ability to work, study, travel in his life, a possible dual citizenship issue, or a student visa that actually did expire after he left his grad program in 2023-2024. Whatever the case, an immigration judge under the DOJ, not ICE, ordered his deportation. Given the details, it is extremely unlikely to impossible for him to have U.S. citizenship. If birthright citizenship, he would not be deportable. Alternatively, it is very, very rare to denaturalize a naturalized citizen. Yeah, so he's probably not an American citizen. It makes sense. It makes sense if he was in a grad school program all the way until 2024, and then they immediately kicked in an order of removal once his student visa was up. Not that it matters. Even if he was here illegally since 1999, I don't give a shit. That person is an exemplary human being that all immigrants that haven't done any crimes, that have just been working regular jobs, deserve to get full-blown documentation, okay? But this person is beyond that as well. He's an exemplary human. What the fuck? Clearly, the very fact that he was the superintendent, clearly the very fact that he was a superintendent in Des Moines implies that numerous background checks have taken place and they've found him to be perfectly fine working in the United States. Like, he had the proper work authorization. Understand that immigration goes both ways, right? This is something that I always talk about. Immigration goes both ways. It's just as easy to document someone, to give them the proper work authorization, and it's just as easy to take that away. This is a fundamental reality that many Americans do not comprehend, but it's actually one that Republicans are very aware of. That is precisely the reason why when J.D. Vance went on that fucking stage and said Haitians are eating cats and dogs, openly admitted that that was a lie, by the way, and said he wanted to bring attention to it, he called them illegal aliens. The Haitians, that obviously weren't eating cats and dogs anyway, in Springfield, Ohio, were not illegal aliens. They had temporary protected status. They had the proper work authorization and the proper work clearance to actually work in Springfield, Ohio. They had the proper paperwork. They were not here illegally. They were not working illegally. And yet, J.D. Vance said that they were illegal because J.D. Vance understands a reality that many Americans don't, which is your status as an immigrant in this country can be taken away. Your status as an immigrant in this country can be easily taken away like a magic wand, which is exactly what he called the TPS status. Please don't call immigrants aliens. I love liberals, man. I love wokes. I love wokes. Please never change. Wokes, never change. I'm glad that you have identified the issue here, which is me using the terminology that they are using when describing immigrants. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I'm woke as fuck, but I understand how quotes work, sir. I'm going to sit my white ass down. Anyway, I'm going to sit my white ass down and listen. Speaking of sitting my white ass down and listening, Benjamin Netanyahu is going to be talking, and he is also not an alien, but an immigrant. Well, I guess he's technically not. He's an American citizen too. So, where were we? As I've spoken out against this time and time again, Israel saw TikTok as a major priority, a major tool of influence. Israel singled out TikTok as the primary factor that was, quote unquote, radicalizing the youth into hating Israel at a time when, of course, Israel was engaging in unprecedented levels of violence by doing a genocide. Okay? And to a certain degree, there is truth in this. The unrestricted algorithmic nature of the Chinese-backed TikTok app did actually open up a lot of normies' eyes to the cruelties of Israel. Okay? I'm sure it played a big role. Now, of course, ever since then, Israel has wanted to do everything in their power to take out TikTok or at least control it. What is this? Oh, did you forget Obama deported 3 million people? Some of them were exemplary, dude. What? You must see exactly what needs to be done, dude. Life is not easy, dude. Why must you lead with your heart to create a utopia that will never exist, dude? What? Yeah, I hated when Obama did that. I thought it was fucked up. I criticized him quite a bit, as a matter of fact, and still do to this day. One of the many different reasons why I also actively criticize the Obama administration. But you can keep, I guess, arguing with a straw man that you have designed in your mind that somehow makes me look hypocritical in your eyes, you know? It is actually the very fact that there are exemplary people, and someone doesn't even need to be exemplary to be deported, for the record, or to be saved from deportation, that I was critical of Obama as well. Probably easier to fucking argue with like a thing that you made up in your minds, though, I think, right?
Something I would like to...
So, asked how Israel can shore up support in the U.S., Netanyahu says what we've all been saying. Let's take a look.
Which was actually my first published paper, was how you and the Likud party are cut from the same ideological cloth as Trump and the GOP in America. And so specifically with Charlie Kirk's assassination, who was a big mentor of mine, who's my first mentor in the space, evangelicals, from all my research, evangelicals are the reason that Israel has been supported in public sphere outside of just Jews. So with Charlie's assassination and with the kind of trajectory that we see with like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, I guess I'm curious about what's another game.
Damn, this guy is the OG, man. Look at how many pins he has. Does he even stand with Israel? I can't even tell at this point. He's standing with everybody. If you're standing with everybody with those sorts of pins, then are you even really standing with Israel at that point? My man looks like a Boy Scout, dude. Jesus Christ. He stands with everything. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? If you stand for everybody, you might as well be standing for nobody at that point. I know they're all Israel pins, guys. I'm making a joke, okay?
And Tucker Carlson, I guess I'm curious about what's another game plan if we lose evangelical support for the state of Israel? What's our backup plan to be strong, like, outside of the diaspora?
Christian influencers, you said... talked about the woke right, and he said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant woke Reich, because these people, you know, they're not any different from the woke left.
Dog, I love how wokeness is so, like, wokeness is such a pejorative here that even when they're trying to fucking censor speech, which is exactly what these guys are trying to do here, which is what he's going to get to, they're still like, yeah, it's the wokes whose speech we must censor because we oppose them. Everything is woke, man. It means nothing. Word means nothing. It's just crazy.
But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money of
yeah, all of the vast network of pro-Palestine supporters, not the moneyed interest of Israel, of course.
NGOs, vast money of governments, vaster. Okay, we have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay, and you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that, but we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important?
Larry Ellison, major advocate for Israel. Larry Ellison, who has openly talked about being a shadow funder and also openly a funder of Israel, like when he was interviewed at the Friends of the IDF gala that was thrown together in Beverly Hills. I'm sure he's been interviewed on many other occasions as well, but that one lives in my mind. Has said, you know, we're doing everything and anything we can to defend Israel, to support Israel. Israel is the homeland for all Jews, all this stuff. He's the one who's purchasing TikTok. He already had all the data and Oracle servers, and now they're going to control the algorithm as well. Now, what's really interesting about a foreign leader saying this, to me at least, is if we're talking about foreign influence, I would, and I stand on this, I would much rather have a Chinese-controlled algorithm than an Israel-controlled algorithm. Okay? 100%. Any day of the fucking week, I would much rather let the Chinese government store all of my fucking personal data than I would let the Israeli government store all of my personal data. If you think that's a hot take, you are not paying attention. I'd go so far as to say I would much rather allow the Chinese government to control the algorithm than the American government to control the algorithm. This is not even about my own personal biases or, you know, the Chinese Communist Party or whatever the fuck. It's very clear to me that the Chinese government is agnostic when it comes to dealing with these sorts of things. They don't give a shit. It's evident by the fact that they sold TikTok as well instead of using it as a method to continue influencing the American public. So they're agnostic. They don't give a shit. And I would much rather have a country that is simply trying to farm, simply trying to trade max, controlling this algorithm, than giving it to the hands of a nation state that is absolutely going to use it for indecent purpose. It's that simple. Israel has not exactly hidden their intention to develop and design a sophisticated network of propaganda in the Western world. And it is evident by the fact that the one area that has not been as tarnished by some semblance of Israel's influence was fucking TikTok. And now they're taking it as well. There is a reason why so much of the mainstream platforms that you get your news from are so different and have been so different, or rather indifferent, to the cruelties of Israel for the past 23 months. Okay? Because that already has been completely servile to the interests of the American State Department and therefore the interests of Israel, because those two things are aligned. And you already see significant setbacks, censorship, and also like walled garden initiatives like those you see on Meta platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So they're already subservient to the interests of the American government. They're owned by American billionaires. They'll do whatever the fuck Trump asked them to do. We've seen it happen in real time. Okay? So the one truly independent platform in that regard was TikTok. And now they recognize that. They didn't like that. And they put the fucking claws out. And it's crazy that they're not even hiding it. Like, he just straight up says, what's the most important social media platform? Social media is more important than any other weapon here for Israel's war on information. And what's the most important social media platform?
The most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. That's very good. And, you know, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now. We have to fight the fight, okay? To give direction to the Jewish people and give direction to our non-Jewish friends, or those who could be our Jewish our friends. Are we going to succeed with everyone? No. Will there be a strong counterpoint? Yes.
Why are they doing this out in the open? Because they can. Because they can. Because what are you going to fucking do about it? Have you not been paying attention to every single thing that Benjamin Netanyahu has been able to get away with? Whether it is like directly contradicting every administration over and over again, no matter how normal their demands are, no matter how fucking bare minimum their demands are. That's it. Because they can. It's a demonstration of power. Just like when Benjamin Netanyahu goes in front of the UNGA, knowing full well that many of the people there that are representatives of their respective states are going to walk out. He doesn't give a shit because that's a flex. Okay? Idiot Ahronot. Israel has decided to conduct an investigation to identify the countries that did not attend Netanyahu's speech at the General Assembly. Fucking awesome. Now, this is not a moment to be fearful, though. I will say this, because this is not a moment to be fearful. The reason why I say that is because they're doing this because they're weak. Make no mistake. They're doing this because there is an unprecedented amount of anger and resistance to the actions of Israel and the ways in which Western governments have turned a blind eye to said discontent is only making things worse for Israel. They recognize that things are changing. And instead of trying to re-triangulate their messaging, trying to take that liberal Zionist exit ramp, they are so used to the arrogant ways in which they've operated without any pushback whatsoever, without any accountability whatsoever, that they think they can get away with demanding more. Okay? So once again, it is pertinent on all of us to show this reality to anyone that's not fucking paying attention. Remember how much anger and resentment the TikTok ban caused to begin with. Okay? I don't think those people, if they were aware, because the mainstream media is not going to report on this. Let's be real. So it's once again up to people like yourselves, people like myself, to try to get others to pay attention to exactly what's going on before it's too late. But the reason as to why they're doing this shit in broad daylight is because they've never experienced any kind of repercussions whatsoever. This is where we're at. Hold on, I'm tweeting. All right. Baba, yemek yapıyor musun? Okay. Yok, you always be tweeting? Yes. Anyway, now we're going to talk about Trump's Gaza plans, as if things weren't bad already. Okay? I'm going to give you the two different methods that they have in mind for what must be done in Gaza. Both are bad. One is far worse than the other. And then I will show you what Israel's opinion is on all of it, which is, of course, everything is bad unless it's like full-blown submission to the Israeli state.
Conflict in the Middle East. President Trump saying he thinks he has a deal to end the war in Gaza and bring the hostages home, but he's not sharing many details. And ABC's Alex Brachet is now following this from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Gio. Yeah, President Trump isn't sharing many details, but there is a big meeting between him and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu scheduled early next week as world pressure for a peace deal grows. This morning, President Trump saying a peace deal between Israel and Hamas is imminent.
I think it's a deal that will get the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that will end the war. It's going to be a deal it's going to be peace. I think we have a deal.
The president said he will make the announcement soon, but declined to give details. International pressure for peace is at a crescendo. In New York City Friday, thousands gathered protesting the Gaza crisis outside the UN Assembly. And inside, another protest unfolded as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered remarks. A mass walkout as he took the podium.
Please, order in hall.
The Prime Minister defiant.
The final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City. They vow to repeat the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again, no matter how diminished their forces. That is why Israel must finish the job.
Netanyahu blasting countries that now recognize a Palestine.
Okay, so Trump claims Gaza peace deal is imminent. I think it is going to be a similar structure to the end of the Srebrenica. I'm fucking up the way to say it, where they want like a United Nations controlled mission with Tony Blair at the top. Now, of course, Tony Blair himself is also an asset for Israel and America as well. And yet, even then, Benjamin Netanyahu is still saying abso-fucking-lutely not. Yes, here it is. The new American plan is to turn Tony Blair into the governor of Gaza with it protected by an international force. He would, over time, transfer it to the Palestinian Authority. Then peace talks between Israel and the PA would begin over a final status agreement. It is hard to have any hope at all. But if only we could start talking again, who knows? This is the goal, that this is the least bad option. Okay? The reason why I'm saying this is the least bad option is because all the other options are even worse than this. And there are competing plans here. You have like a Saudi protectorate plan as well. And then you have the Israeli plan, which is complete control, seizing all of the territory, and permanent ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian population. Okay? Now, the reason why the Tony Blair plan is also fucking complete bullshit is because Tony Blair has literally worked with the Boston Consulting Group and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, as you know, the Gaza Holocaust Fund. It's not like fucking Tony Blair has actually the best interest of the Palestinians in mind. He would still be a completely fucking captive. He would be completely servile to Israel and America's interests in the region. Okay? And yet even that is considered to be a bridge too far for the Israeli government at this moment, because they are so used to getting every single fucking thing that they want. They're so used to getting every single thing that they fucking want that it does not even matter, that they just want full genocide. They don't want anything else. Nothing short of full genocide. What is this? Have you seen this article? It was released by the Times of Israel right before the genocide, then deleted off the face of the planet. Moving forward on Palestine, May 18, 2023, in order to right a wrong, in order to make peace and move forward, Palestine must be obliterated. Is an affront to society, morality, humanity. Yeah, what do you mean? This is just like the average Zionist position. Yeah, I know this is far before October 7, but like, guys, Ben Shapiro literally wrote this exact same article in America on Town Hall in 2012. The article title is "Transfer is Not a Dirty Word." I've read this exact same article in a million different formations from Israelis, Americans, right-wing national security think tank guys. This has been the project. Yeah. It's psychopathic. It's inhumane. It's monstrous. It's exactly what's going on right now. This is not like, I mean, this is what it is. This is what it's always been. Anyway, new immediate release of all captives in the end of the war. New details on Trump's 21-point plan. This is from DropSite. Reports in the past day outline key points of a U.S. plan to end the genocidal war in Gaza. Under the proposal, all captives would be freed within 48 hours in exchange for Israel releasing thousands of Palestinian captives, including 100 to 200 serving life terms. The IDF would gradually withdraw with the Palestinian Authority eventually involved in governing Gaza. Hamas would be granted amnesty if it agreed to disarm and leave the Strip. Trump has claimed Hamas is aware of the details, but the group has not said it received any information on a new proposal. Okay? All right, this is the Tony Blair program. I'm going to get to it in a second. Hold on. There's a couple competing ones, okay? There's like 3 competing major plans. The one unifying aspect of all 3 of these competing major plans, whether it be the Saudi-French agreement, whether it be the American Tony Blair-backed agreement, or whether it be Israel's own ambitions for the Gaza Strip, none of which factor in the sovereignty of the Palestinians or the opinions of the Palestinians or the ambition of the Palestinians. None of it factors in Palestinian interests even a little bit. The only thing it seeks to address, at least for the interim, is the Palestinian need for an end to the bloodshed, for an end to the genocide. Okay, that's it. And outside of that, so, main points reported by Al Arabiya: immediate end to the war, release of all Israeli captives, release of thousands of Palestinian captives, including 200 up to 200 lifers, gradual withdrawal of the IDF from Gaza according to a set timetable, unlimited humanitarian aid entry through the UN and international aid groups, closure of the Gaza Humanitarian Fund currently in operation in the Strip, disarmament of Hamas through Arab International Force with a limited mandate, amnesty for Hamas members if they hand over weapons and leave Gaza, Gaza to be run temporarily by an Arab International Force after the war, establishment of a Palestinian committee under PA supervision to oversee interim administration, Palestinian Authority to take over Gaza's management after a limited period, U.S. commitment not to allow Israel to annex land in the West Bank, Gaza reconstruction through an Arab International Consortium over more than 5 years. Okay? Of course, full disarmament is a non-starter for the Palestinian population for understandable reasons. There's an ongoing genocide, and Israel has no ambitions to even dial it back a little bit. So it is perfectly understandable why the Palestinian population, not just Hamas, by the way, because they say Hamas, but it's like that's just like catch-all fucking statement here. But the entirety of the Palestinian population, understandably, is not going to want to disarm while they are simultaneously being destroyed. CNN's reporting added, all captives will be freed within 48 hours. Israel commit not to strike Qatar again. Hamas rule would be replaced with an international administration, later transitioning to a Palestinian committee. The plan does not include recognition of a Palestinian state, and timelines remain vague. IDF withdrawal would be gradual, but no forced expulsion of residents of Gaza would be permitted. Hamas has not been formally presented with the proposal, though Trump claimed on Truth Social that the resistance movement is well aware of its details. Qatar is expected to deliver the plan to negotiators in Doha. Trump also insisted the sides are very close to a deal, while Netanyahu told the United Nations Israel will fight on until Hamas is destroyed. So, like I said, there is the Palestinian National Committee adjacent deal that starts with Tony Blair and an international mission protecting the Gaza Strip from Israel, but also simultaneously apprehending those who they say are members of the resistance, of course, as criminals. And then eventually the Palestinian Authority, which is already a part of the Israeli security apparatus and not exactly a beloved institution in the eyes of every single Palestinian, obviously not as unpopular as Israel, but basically the second most unpopular entity in the region, according to Palestinian polls, will govern Gaza as well. Now, Israel does not want any of that. Israel wants to implement the insane expulsion protocol that they have set forward in doing, building and designing concentration camps in Rafah, pushing every single person into said concentration camps, and then forcibly expelling them from Palestinian land and Palestinian territory with no way of allowing them to return ever again. That's what Israel wants. And it is seemingly a non-starter for them. Any other thing that people present as an alternative, no matter how good it is for the future of Israel, for the future of the Zionist project, if it took like a liberal Zionist framework, for example, which would allow Zionism to continue, Israel says, no, we're going to do it our way. We are once again arriving at yet another impasse where Hamas will be the reasonable party, as they have been so from the jump, and will abide by these ridiculous demands, no matter how ridiculous they may seem, only for Israel to, at the very last second, throw a fucking wrench in the entire process and blow it up to continue its genocide. At that point, the appetite for the administration to continue its unlimited loyalty to Israel will once again cause them to potentially recalculate this allegiance. This is the reason why our support for the Palestinian plight matters. This is the reason why our consistent advocacy and our protests matters. Do you understand? Trump said 4 days of intensive talks have already been held and will continue as long as necessary. I am pleased to report that we are having very inspired and productive discussions with the Middle Eastern community concerning Gaza. Intense negotiations have been going on for 4 days and will continue for as long as necessary in order to get a successfully completed agreement. All the countries with the region are involved. Hamas is very much aware of these discussions, and Israel has been informed at all levels, including Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. There is more goodwill and enthusiasm for getting a deal done after so many decades than I have ever seen before. Everyone is excited to put this period of death and darkness behind them. It is an honor to be a part of this negotiation. We must get the hostages back and get a permanent and long-standing peace. Will this informed diplomatic source to Al Jazeera? Hamas has not received any new proposal regarding the resumption of negotiations. Yes, and Dropsite is also an informed source as well. They have direct contacts with Hamas. So that's why I was looking at Dropsite. So when Dropsite says Hamas is yet to be informed about any decision or any negotiation whatsoever, I believe them. Now, understand that all of these deals are fucking horrible. And yet, all of the supposedly peaceful deals that Israel is saying no to are still horrible. But even then, it's not enough. It is obvious that Israel just wants one thing and one thing only, which is the complete and permanent ethnic cleansing of the entire Palestinian population. So much so that they refuse even this plan. This is the British Prime Minister, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, and the role that he is going to be playing in the Trump peace plan.
He's a senior consulting fellow at the Chatham House think tank in London. Welcome to DW, Yossi. Now, Trump seems very confident.
Sorry, it's loud.
And he has a deal on Gaza. Do you think that confidence is warranted or maybe a little premature?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I think we are all to be cautious. We've seen quite a few false dawns. So let's hope that he is right. I think we see something happening over the last few days. The meeting with leading Arab and Muslim countries made some difference. The way that he speaks about no annexation of the West Bank, more committed to a ceasefire. But on the other hand, we also heard this speech in the UN, in the General Assembly, which was very different. Today we had Netanyahu's speech, which was a mix between, on the one hand, very defensive, but also very militant. And I think your correspondent is absolutely right. I think we should wait for the meeting on Monday. I think this will be an all-crucial meeting. The way that they come out, and whenever is the press conference, whatever come out of this meeting might define the next weeks, months, and probably the end of the war.
Talk to us about the idea of a temporary governing body for a post-war Gaza, which could allegedly be led by former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair.
Yeah, I think, politics always brings with it quite a few surprises. But we know that former Prime Minister Tony Blair was working from the beginning of the war on all sorts of plans from the humanitarian side, were bringing the war to an end. And I think now he put himself in the forefront also to be active in post-war Gaza. We'll need to see what happens there, but we know that there are close relations between Tony Blair and President Trump. He has almost an open door to speak with President Trump. And while we begin with a horrific plan by Trump about entail the expulsion, forced displacement of probably 2 million Gazans, I think with the help of Tony Blair, this kind of idea has been subsided. So I think he's looking to play a role. I think there will be some people, especially in the Gulf, that will support someone with his experience, someone with his gravitas. On the other hand, I have already some reservation among Palestinian leaders for this idea.
You talk about his experience, his gravitas, but also he has a rather checkered political past, especially in the region when we talk about the war in Iraq. Do you think Blair is the right person for the job?
I personally, I think it depends how he's going to handle it. Definitely the war in Iraq also, his 7-8 years, the special envoy of the quartet didn't succeed to make any progress on the peace between Israelis and Palestinians. But
Tony Blair, much like every other British leader, is a non-entity and simply a servant of American interests. So all of the crimes in Iraq that you could point the finger of blame at the Bush administration, you can also lay squarely on Tony Blair's feet as well. But of course, because a million murdered Iraqis are just, collateralized in the eyes of the fucking Western media, you can simply present that as a checkered past. Putting Tony Blair in charge of these affairs is like putting George W. Bush in charge of these affairs. You said this is GHF all over again? Well, interestingly enough, Tony Blair was also directly involved in the GHF. So Tony Blair was involved in the GHF. He was a part of the Boston Consulting Group plans. Fuck. Too much spice bar? No, it went down the wrong hole. Originally, it went down the wrong hole when I was eating the chicken.
Having said that, it depends how he takes it and what's the response from the Palestinians, the Israelis in the region. If they give him enough power to do and use his experience, it might be a good idea. Personally, I think it's rather be someone from the region for a limited time and then hand it over to a new Palestinian leadership. Always the worry is what is an interim becomes permanent, and and from one European former leader to another, instead of actually allowing the Palestinians to lead their own lives.
We know not a lot about this plan right now. You say it all hinges on what happens on Monday, but just broadly speaking, do you consider this, what we know about this plan, a viable future for Gaza, and would it be accepted domestically, regionally, and globally?
I think we see the kind of the direction with the 21 points, the one that we know the most important thing, and for a very long time, is ending the war. We see what's happening as we speak in Gaza, bringing the hostages back. I think this is important to allow more humanitarian aid and safely to enter into Gaza, and then gradually moving into ensuring there are peacekeeping forces there that ensure the long-term ceasefire, and beyond that, new governance in Gaza. But the long term should be how we move from this situation into a two-state solution, ensuring that Gaza and the West Bank are part of the same political system. What we heard from Netanyahu in the UN today is that he completely excluded the possibility of a two-state solution. I think that's where the position of President Trump is all important.
Yossi Menkelberg, Senior Consulting Fellow at Chatham House. Thank you so much for all your insights today. Great speaking to you.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Sarah Yerkes now, a Senior Fellow with the Middle East Program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Welcome to DW. President Donald Trump has expressed confidence, as we just heard, that a Gaza deal is close. Where do you think things stand with the deal, given that, we've heard this before?
Absolutely. This is not the first time we've heard Donald Trump say that a deal is close and the deal has never materialized. The only person that really matters here is Benjamin Netanyahu. And as we just heard, what he said this morning in New York is that he needs to eradicate Hamas, that he will not oversee a Palestinian state. He doesn't want that to happen until Hamas is gone. That is not the same language as saying that a deal is close.
Yeah, you were mentioning these comments by Benjamin Netanyahu saying he wanted to eradicate Hamas. When it comes, though, specifically to Donald Trump's claims of a deal being close, we haven't heard from Israel. We haven't heard from Hamas either. They haven't responded to this. What's your take on that?
We have heard from Israel. They said, fuck no. They said, fuck no.
Yeah, I think, what we need to take from that is that, first of all, you do see some important progress. The fact that the various Arab leaders were able to meet, that they were able to meet with Trump, that Trump is putting the full weight of the United States behind this deal. Those are all positive signs. But if the two parties involved in this conflict, Hamas and Israel, are not at the table, if they're not the ones who are actually signing off on this deal, they're not there, I think we need to be very, very skeptical that there's any way that we're going to get to a deal anytime soon.
Let's talk a little bit about some possible details. There have been press reports of a 21-point plan that includes a ceasefire, release of hostages, a phased Israeli withdrawal, and a new governing authority in Gaza that excludes Hamas. In your opinion, how realistic is a framework like that?
And I think on the one hand, this is a very comprehensive framework, which is a good thing. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed in order for this deal to be lasting. But on the other hand, as we've seen in the past with some various deals in the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, when you do this sort of phased approach, there's a lot of opportunities for things to fall apart. And I think, what we need to see is that the Arab states really need to support this. They're going to be crucial in implementing all of these steps. But when you look at the Israeli side, for Benjamin Netanyahu, it's in every interest of his not to actually end this war. For his legitimacy at home, he needs to keep this war going. And so when you offer him this sort of plan where there are many outs where he can say Hamas violated the deal here, they violated the deal here, it gives him the ability to say the deal is done, we're moving on. And I think that's where this could be very dangerous.
Speaking of Arab states, some of them are threatening to pull out of a deal normalising ties with Israel. That's called the Abraham Accords. This is something that Trump's first administration brokered. How much pressure is the potential collapse of such a key foreign policy achievement putting on Donald Trump?
Bro.
I think for Donald Trump, the Abraham...
Bro, if Qatar goes back to the negotiation table with Israel after Israel bombed its capital, there is no salvaging the Gulf, man. There is no saving the Gulf. You cannot save a nation state that does not want to save itself. I suspect they will, by the way. I suspect they'll fucking play ball. But it is like the concessions, if such a thing were to take place, the concessions have to be like something short of there's like dismantling Zionism. You know what I mean? Like maybe one step removed from like making it illegal to be Zionist. Of course, that's never going to happen. But I'm only saying this to highlight the severity. Highlight the severity of the wrong that was committed. Like they literally are hosting the Hamas Politburo at the directive of the American government right next to American military bases. And then Israel uses that as a reason to blow up their capital and like kill a bunch of fucking Qatar residents. It's the most unacceptable shit I've ever seen. Like, I don't know. It's not even respect. It's just like you have no self-preservation skills. In that situation, I'd be making a call to China literally. I wouldn't even wait to figure out if it was Israel. Wouldn't wait to figure out if like the Patriots missile systems were turned off or whatever. I'd just be making a call to China like moments after. You know what I mean? Because there's only one fucking entity in the region that is arrogant enough to take action like that. I wouldn't even wait for the dust to settle. I'd be like calling up China to be like, listen, big dog, we were so wrong. We were so fucking wrong. I'd be calling up Saudi Arabia to be like, listen, let's let bygones be bygones, okay? I know you wanted to fucking cut me out. I know you wanted to destroy me, but, you know, Doha today, Riyadh next. You know what I mean? We gotta start utilizing OPEC a little bit. What are we doing?
Accords were one of the most important things, one of the most important achievements he had during his first term. And he really came into office wanting to expand those deals to try to make other normalization deals with other Arab countries. That obviously has not happened in the wake of October 7th. And so, you know, the fact that countries that have had made the deals might be pulling out is very bad for Donald Trump. It's very much in his interest to not only keep the existing deals there, but also expand them. And so that's one of the things that's motivating him. He also is very motivated by this idea that he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. He wants to be seen as a peace.
You really just spew bullshit like, what is this? Bro, are you a fucking Israel dick sucker too? God damn. Pick your poison, dude. Pick a struggle. This motherfucker's in here like, do you have one good opinion other than enjoying the content of Keizo and Kai Cenat and numerous other content creators who I'm friendly with? Like, is there one fucking is there one good political opinion you have accidentally arrived at? Many Americans at least have like found themselves on the right side with this Israel shit. And this guy's like, nah, brother, I can't wait to go visit the Bible land so that an Orthodox child can spit on my face. That's right.
Peacemaker. And I think that's sort of a joke in some senses. But on the other hand, this is what's driving him. One of the things that's really pushing him to put the full weight of the U.S. behind this sort of deal.
Right. There's talk of an international transitional authority for Gaza, possibly led by the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. What kind of structure do you think could actually gain legitimacy among Palestinians and be accepted as well by some of the key regional players you were talking about?
Yeah, I think the inclusion of Tony Blair is interesting. I mean, he's played an important role in the past with the quartet. You know, he has a somewhat positive track record at being a legitimate player in this realm. But on the other hand, you know, for the Palestinians, they really need Palestinian leadership in order to make a functioning Palestinian state move forward. And I think that's, you know, that's not going to come from Tony Blair. You know, you need someone from the inside. And you also, frankly, you need someone that's not Mahmoud Abbas to also be the one who's leading this. It's time for new Palestinian leadership to be the ones that are taking over and really making sure that this moves forward. And I do think Blair has the legitimacy and the rubber stamp of the Arab state.
Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Yeah, they're going to love Tony Blair. The same people that hate Mahmoud Abbas because he's a servant of the Israeli state are going to be like, oh my God, love Tony Blair. Love me some fucking Tony Blair, dude.
Palestinian state.
Your disgraceful decision will encourage terrorism against Jews and against innocent people everywhere.
Yeah, you don't understand. Palestinians love the way British people took control over British mandated Palestine. Remember, they love that. And also, number two, they respect Tony Blair's prowess as a person also responsible for millions of dead people in the region, specifically in Iraq. When they see that, they're like, well, that's a good guy. That's a guy who I think has my best interest in mind.
It will be a mark of shame on all of you
His speech broadcasted on loudspeakers throughout Gaza Friday,
Peace between Israel and Syria.
where the Hamas-run health ministry reports that Israeli forces killed 47 Palestinians and wounded 142 in the last 24 hours. The need for food and supplies there dire. Now, organizers of an international aid flotilla say they will defy an Israeli naval embargo to get aid into the region. Now, Hamas responded to Netanyahu's speech, saying it's filled with, quote, lies and blatant contradictions. President Trump now expected to host the prime minister at the White House on Monday.
Okay, Alex Brachet for us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
This morning, the U.S.
revokes Colombian president's visa after Gaza protest speech, which, by the way, is unprecedented. Like, you've had former leaders, like, you've had Chavez call George W. Bush, like, Hitler, Adolf Hitler incarnate. And America hasn't revoked people's like visa status. Like it is crazy.
Is revoking
because it quite literally contradicts the entire reason for the United Nations to exist. So basically, it calls into question if the UN headquarters can be in New York at all.
Colombian president's visa after his visit to the United Nations. President Gustavo.
Yeah, he called George W. Bush the devil at the United Nations. He had also called him Hitler as well. But at the United Nations, he just straight up on his speech called George W. Bush the devil. He said, it still smells of sulfur right where I'm standing because of his impact.
Esta mesa donde me ha tocado hablar. Ayer,
called him a white supremacist devil.
Evo Morales, que vino ayer, el digno presidente de la Bolivia, Francisco.
But who it is? Look at his dick riding, bro. To fucking oblivion.
En las calles a los ciudadanos estadounidenses. Este país quiere la paz. La diferencia está en que el gobierno quiere la paz. ¿Y qué está pasando? ¿Y qué ha pasado en Palestina?
Did he bring up Palestine? This is 2 decades prior to October 7. That's weird. That's so strange to me. Why would he bring up Palestine? That wasn't even a thing, right? That's not just like a year before October 7. That's 2 decades. I'm just confused because I thought, no, like literally 2006. That's almost 2 decades. Huh. I'm so confused as to how this could have happened.
En América Latina y en el mundo, y Imperio Yankee, go home.
Mock October 7th tragedy. Something that I'm beginning to notice is that like a lot of the people that come in here are just like too stupid to understand how language works. It's pretty funny that he still thinks like this is a workable counter here, but that's not even what I'm doing. I'm mocking the people that think that October 7th is when this conflict began. If you had any working brain cells and weren't simply like a Unit 8200 bot, or basically like a human that works in the same way that like an AI chatbot does, you would know that I'm making a joke about how history did not begin on October 7, especially as it pertains to the oppression that Palestinians were facing. Also, another person in the chat asked me, did Chavez have aura? What more do you need to see? Yes, he did. He had mad aura. He had crazy aura. Undeniable.
Pedro took to New York streets in a pro-Palestinian demonstration and urged the U.S. military to disobey Trump. Take a look.
Obedezcan la orden de la humanidad.
Disobey the Trump's order. Obey the order of humanity.
All right, for more on this, let's bring in CNN contributor Stefano Pozzebon in Bogota. Stefano, where is the Colombian president right now?
Well, Danny, Gustavo Petro is here in Bogota. He arrived around 4 a.m. local time, which is 5 a.m. where you are in the East Coast, and has been taken to X to come up with his reaction to this latest order from the U.S. administration. In the last few hours, he has tweeted several times accusing the United States of violating international law. He has went on calling Donald Trump Donald Duck, and has also called for...
Bro is literally praising Chavez. I would love to hear you expand on your criticisms of the Venezuelan governance under the directive of Chavez. I feel like you are the man who is going to enlighten everybody here. Gringos, you're lucky your authoritarian wannabe dictator is an idiot like Donald Trump and not Hugo Chavez, someone who was objectively correct about many things and had the charisma to lead millions within and out of the country. I mean, I would like for it not to be Donald Trump, but I wouldn't mind a charismatic figure that, you know, forcibly nationalizes the entirety of the extraction industries, implements a lot of modest social democratic changes, improves literacy in this fucking country, pulls millions out of abject poverty, builds hospitals in rural areas. These are the types of things that I would like for any American leadership to do. Chavez's biggest L, in my assessment, was that he allowed for private enterprise to continue fucking up the bag instead of immediately diversifying the Venezuelan economy by force. He allowed a bunch of these like massive business leaders to actively thwart his initiatives every step of the fucking way, including facilitating a coup set up by the United States of America. You ask me if my big business owners, if my chamber of commerce plots a fucking coup at the directive of the United States of America, and only moments after this illegal coup is implemented, does the American government come out and recognize the new government as the official government of Venezuela, okay? I'm not letting any of those motherfuckers go along. Like, I'm not letting them fucking breathe the free man's air. I'm seizing their assets. The fuck do you mean? I'm like, oh shit, well, sorry. Oh, you guys own all the grocery store franchises? Fuck, man. That's so sweet because it's really important for every Venezuelan to get cheap groceries. So it's so wonderful that they are now a part of the federal government. I'm asset stripping like a motherfucker. Expropriation. His biggest weaknesses, his biggest problems were, yes, mismanagement to a certain degree, but more consequentially, his inability to diversify Venezuela's output. It's agribusiness. Like, he did not, on Guaido Twitch, Chavez expropriated property on live TV, bro. What do you mean? I know. I'm saying there were definitely a lot of sectors that he could have done that to, and he did not do that. He also bad succession planning. That's definitely another problem. Maduro, not so great. I can't believe the real president of Venezuela is in my Twitch chat right now. I didn't know he was going to get hit with a cancer gun.
The United Nations to relocate away from New York City. Just an hour ago, he tweeted that he thinks the headquarters of the United Nations should move to Doha in Qatar. Now, at this point, it doesn't seem like Colombia is following up or formally proposing to move the United Nations Net General.
Bro, I don't think we should make the UN that close to Israel. No disrespect to anybody, but kind of feels like if you're in striking distance, especially with like one refueling mission from an F-35 fighter jet, probably not the best place to have all of the global leaders get together, you know? I know there's the played out, why don't you leave in America? But like, no, for real, why don't you go live in a socialist nation? Like, genuinely asking? Great question. Perhaps I will. If you want the real answer, it's because I'm a stubborn motherfucker. Because no matter how stupid people like you exist, no matter how angry dumb fucks like you get, I still want you to get health care. I still want you to fucking make an honest living and be able to purchase a fucking home and be able to have dumb fuck children with your dumb fuck wife without having fears of financial instability. Okay? I want you to shit out as many stupid fucking kids as you possibly can and make sure that those stupid kids get the best possible fucking education so they can be dumb fucks, but also free of the economic hardships that we are all experiencing. That's what I want. I want you to be as hateful and as stupid as you possibly are, but I want you to be free of medical debt that could possibly saddle you for the rest of your life. Says a 34-year-old man whose mom comes over to make him food. Dog, really? Really? You think that's a own? I take care of my family. Like, between you and I, who do you think is in better financial status right now? Who do you think is having a better time? What the fuck? Yeah, I have a mom who loves me. And it's my dad who's making my shit. I got my shit together and I'm free, buddy. Okay. All right. You say so. Anyway, no matter how stupid you are, no matter how free you feel, for example, I want you to make sure that you actually experience the true freedom, the true liberty of not having to worry about your health care. Okay? Do you disagree? Do you want to continue paying for your health care? Is that what you want to do? Do you want to pay a much lower price for your health care in the form of taxes, much lower than your fucking premiums, and much lower than the rest of the coverage when the coverage lapses, the rest of the payments that you have to pay. Because I want that for you. That's what I want for you. No matter how stupid you are. You know what I mean? It's all good. It don't matter to me. You can be stupid. You can be hateful. You can be a real piece of shit. I am firmly committed, okay? I am firmly committed to designing a world where you don't have to worry about healthcare. You don't have to worry about your education. You don't have to worry about, so the true form of freedom is a socialist nation. Oh my God, bro. I'm not even talking about socialism right now. Listen to my words. Do you want government paid healthcare? Do you want free healthcare or not? Do you like paying $600 a month to your healthcare when every other country on the fucking planet is free? How long does it how long does it take to get seen by a doctor in Canada? Wait times are comparable in the United States of America, and we get ass fucked with a medical bill. What do you? No, I don't want free healthcare. Okay, well, you're a fucking idiot. He said, no, I don't want free healthcare because other people who are getting paid by the big healthcare industry told me it's scary. Anyway, yeah, the wait times is such a funny fucking line of attack because you got wait times here in America too, dumbass. And even with the paywalled healthcare, which already makes it so that the people who need healthcare don't even fucking get it half the time. And even then, there's still wait time issues. And on top of that, there's the crisis in fucking rural hospital care. You have a San Antonio zip code or you have a San Antonio phone number in your fucking username. How long until you got no motherfucking hospital in your vicinity that you got to get airdropped when you accidentally fucking swallow a hot dog full and it just disrupts your airwaves and no one can help you? You got to go to the hospital. So fuck then. Now you got to pay 30 grand minimum, okay? If not even more than that. America's just like suffering. I know it doesn't matter, but he asked me why I do this, why I stay here, why don't you just like take my money and fucking run, go to a style country, because I could just go there, you know, go live in China, I guess. And the reason why is because I care about people. I'm stubborn. I want to fix this country. This country has a lot of fucking promise. It has a lot of potential. That's it. That's why it's always so funny when motherfuckers are like, bro, you hate America. If you don't like it, leave. It's like, dude, trust me. I've thought about it, okay? I have. I'm here out of pure spite, buddy. I am going to give you that fucking free healthcare if it's the last goddamn thing I do. You're going to be kicking and screaming your way to the fucking doctor's office. You're going to be like, oh no, don't give me that free healthcare. I don't want to go to my general practitioner for free for a checkup to make sure I have the most adequate preventative care of all time. How dare you? You check-on bastard. And I'm going to be like, hell yeah, get that fucking free healthcare, you little bitch. You're going to fucking love it, okay? Oh, that's right. You got diabetes. Turns out you now have insulin shots. Suck my fucking dick, bitch. Yeah. Eat it. That's what I'm going to do. You complain to your fucking free mental health therapist, mental health professional about how sad you are.
To another country, but it shows the fact that Petro has an appetite for a fight and doesn't seem to be intimidated by this latest move from the Trump administration, which comes after a long string of clashes between Washington and Bogota.
Well, so to that point, it's fascinating because the relationship between the U.S. and Colombia seems incredibly tense right now, which feels like a reversal from years of growing ties, certainly pre-Petro, between the two countries. So what's at risk right now if these two leaders can't get along?
Yes, Colombia is historically America's staunchest ally in the region across Latin America. It's a trusted partner, especially in the areas of security. Think that the Colombian military has been involved in several foreign wars led by successive U.S. administrations since at least the 1950s. There was a Colombian foreign...
Yeah, against this dude. Yeah, literally against the guy who's now the president. There were successive collaborative military operations against guerrilla forces in the country. Okay, yeah, he was aligned with those guys. I wonder why. I wonder why that same security collaboration doesn't work any longer.
expeditionary team that went to fight in Korea side by side with the U.S. Marines, and that's where this special relationship has been cemented. Now, Petro comes into power 3 years ago, the first left-wing leader, has a troublesome but working relationship with the White House under Biden. Now with Trump, they really seem not to get along. Petro was one of the first leaders to stand up to the new policies from the White House of increased deportation. You might remember back in January, he ordered the temporary suspension of deportation flights. There's been threats of special tariffs on Colombia because of this relationship, which has been damaged. And of course, less than a month ago, well, the United States decertified the Colombian state in their role on the war on drugs. So clearly, it is a sign that, well, we are in for a bumpy few months, at least until Petro stays in power, which is until the next summer. He's due to give up his mandate in July 2026, Danny.
Yeah, a lot more to watch in this space, especially as tensions with Venezuela continue to increase as well. Stefano, thank you so much for your time. We'll leave it there.
Applause for an impassioned performance led by Israeli conductor Ilan Volkov. Then an impassioned plea to end the bloodshed in Gaza.
Israelis, Jews and Palestinians, we are not able to stop.
Calm Like a Tom, thank you for the 50 gifted subs to the Hasanabi Fund, the Piker Broadcasting Service. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Piker Broadcasting Service is funded by you, the people, for you, the people. And of course, right now you can get 35% off gifted subs, 5+ gifted subs. And not only that, but also Valorante is also gifting additional gifted subs for every 5 gifted subs.
This alone. I ask you, I beg you, all to do whatever is in your power to stop this madness.
When I started this speech in London, my voice was breaking.
We meet Ilan at his home outside Tel Aviv.
I feel like that from inside it's so difficult to do any change now because the society is kind of in a state of shock and trauma and hate and fear, and it feels so difficult to breathe here, you know. So I felt like, yeah, it's important to voice, you know, this cry for help, you know, and to try to move people in direction, but also try to move other Israelis so that they...
There you go, bro. There's an Israeli dude literally in England being like, it's very difficult to say these things in Israel, okay? Israeli society has lost its damn mind. Obviously, there aren't... it's not like the number of people who are like against this genocide who aren't even fucking like anti-Zionist, or the number of anti-Zionists is not zero in Israel. Is not zero. Okay? Of course it's not zero. He should join Hamas, otherwise I don't give a fuck. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up, bitch. Oh my God. I hate that. That is the most like, you're an American, dude. You are a fucking American. Okay? There is more that like Israeli society broadly could do. But god damn, bro. Come on. Come on. See what the fuck you're promoting? Wait, first of all, see what the fuck you're promoting? I'm sorry. I'm saying that that's an unrealistic expectation. I'm not saying that it is not honorable and just and legal under international law to resist against the Israeli occupation. Those 3 things are still true. It's just irrelevant to the other point that a fucking dumb fuck American is making from the comfort of his home about what an Israeli conductor should be doing. There's more everybody could do, especially people in Israeli society as well. But like, don't fucking be a goddamn American sitting in the comfort of your home being like, why don't you join Hamas right now? Like, calm down. What are you fucking... What are you, like a pro-Israel person? That's what they say. Like,
feel that they can say things that maybe they were silent on.
Are you disappointed with the attitude of people from here, though?
Listen, it's an ongoing place of occupation and apartheid. It's not nothing new. But what happened in the last 2 years is a kind of, I mean, it's an explosion. In the end, my anger is aimed at the top of the pyramid. I have a lot of criticism of other people that are living around me, but I know that It's the top of the pyramid that's actually creating this.
This afternoon, Ilan is heading to an anti-war protest. He's now become part of the small but increasingly vocal left-wing Israeli activist community. Today, they're joining a demonstration in an Arab town in northern Israel.
State of Israel is not committing a genocide. Take the sign down. By the way, Americans and those living in the fucking comforts of Western Empire, look at your future. This is your future as well. This is our future. Watching this, down to the fucking Israeli band on the chest of an NYPD cop that went and like did a tour of service in Tel Aviv. Down to that. That's your future. Okay? I mean, this is already happening in England. This is already fucking happening in England. In England, it's like, oh, is that say Palestine Action? Well, it's not allowed. It's a prescribed organization. I'll have you fucking know it's fucking illegal. It's fucking illegal, mate. What you think you're doing? 84 years old, pensioner, blind, paraplegic, sick the bobbies on them. It's time to fucking go. I feel like left wing in Israel must be Liz Cheney. No, there are like 8 real anti-Zionists in there. Many of them are in here every day. But like the liberal flank of Israeli society is Liz Cheney, yes. Or sometimes even more vicious, honestly. The anti-Zionists, on the other hand, are more aggressive than anti-Zionists here in America even. That's just how it goes. Sometimes I'll see like anti-Zionist Jews say some shit where I'm like, dude, okay, you're going a little too hard. You know what I mean?
The large Israeli anti-government protests, the focus here is on Palestinian lives. It's peaceful, but police break it up.
There you go. There you go. That's what that chatter said. Like he was sitting in the comfort of his home in America. There you go. You have the same perspective as the fucking Israeli cop. Ah, you want to go to Gaza? Go to Gaza. What? No politics here. Israel #1.
How does it make you feel seeing this?
The police are insane. Look, like you have to document this.
A young woman is handcuffed. It's unclear why.
Why are you arresting this?
Why? What do you mean? She's Arab. That's why. She's a Palestinian citizen of Israel.
Why? You think it's funny? You think it's funny? Why are you pushing?
The aggression is directed at us too.
I guess this gives you an insight into why the protests are small, because as soon as you start saying anything, the police come in very hard. Then they're moving again.
Suddenly, a young man is hauled from his car, violently pinned to the ground. All this, apparently, for just honking in support of the protest. Police help.
You say NYPD? Well, they do have a branch in Tel Aviv. That's not a joke. I'm not doing like an anti-Semitic trope. They do literally have a branch in Tel Aviv. That's number one. Number two, the IDF, this is the police force, but the IDF has trained every single local law enforcement. They literally, we found out, have a birthright for police. They have a separate birthright trip for police. American police officers can do a different version of birthright to go to Israel. Wait, I thought it was the other way around. No, man. The IDF has trained every fucking local law enforcement after 9/11 for anti-terrorism, for counterterrorism initiatives. Some of the practices that you see every day was literally taught by the IDF. Kettling and corralling, for example. Kettling and corralling. Israeli police are identical to the American police force. Wait, for Jewish cops or only, or any cop? No, dog, not for Jewish cops only, for any cop. What are you talking about? How many Jewish cops do you know? The closest you can get to like a Jewish cop is, what is it called? The Hatzalah or whatever? It's like fucking a Jewish EMS. Like American cops who are Jewish. Those are not cops. I know. This is the Orthodox police force. Like any old pig can just get a trip to Israel? Yes, bro. Yes. They have something, Shamrim, which is, I think, Neighborhood Watch. Yeah. Hatzalah is EMT, is like a Orthodox EMT. It's Orthodox Emergency Response Services, but you're thinking of Shamrim? Yeah, that's what it is. But no, the cops that they're bringing on police birthright are not Jewish. They're fucking whatever cops usually are, like Irish and Italian and different WASP variants.
Flash grenades dispersing the small crowd.
How do you feel about your country seeing this?
Oh,
What's happening to it?
Listen, I'm ashamed. I'm really ashamed of what's happening. You know, and people that live here, they suffer what's going on way more than me. They have family in Gaza, they have family in the West Bank. It's shameful, you know. You know, we can't stand here and say what we feel, but this is a democracy. What happened here that was dangerous to the state of Israel? This is insanity.
President Trump's retribution campaign reached a new and ominous level late yesterday. The first criminal indictment of a man Trump considers a political enemy. Since the Watergate scandal more than 50 years ago.
The only reason why that dude is an anti-Zionist is because he's an orchestra conductor, and he has seen that Israel's #1 musical export is the worst psytrance you've ever heard. That is probably the first time he heard Israeli techno. He was like, this is the most unacceptable thing. This is what this art that I've studied my entire life has come down to. I will never forgive the ideology that allowed this to happen. Okay? That's what it is. He's a fucking conductor for an orchestra. No wonder he's an anti-Zionist. He's like, this is the worst type of music. This is the most offensive thing I have ever heard in my entire life. I would much rather listen to the stringed instruments of Hamas than a second of whatever the fuck this psytrance bullshit is and affront the music itself. Having said that, nasheeds do go fucking hard. I'll be honest. Like the most famous nasheed that everybody always plays is like an ISIS one. So I sometimes feel a little weird playing it. But like most white Americans have no idea. So they play it because it's a banger. But there's a lot of great nasheeds out there. What is this? Unrelated, but multiple talent agents are reportedly in talks to sign AI actress Tilly Norwood, created by AI talent studio Exikoia. What the fuck? The one nasheed you're thinking of is banned on YouTube. Yeah. Is it ISIS or is it just Sunni? No, there is a ISIS nasheed. The one that people play most commonly is the ISIS one. The Taliban nasheed goes hard as fuck too. Yeah, that one's funny. That's the one that's like the Taliban one is, what is it called? Where it's like it's in English. The Taliban one is in English. It's so funny. Afghan Nation one, yeah, Afghan Nation. If you go against the Afghan Nation, bro can't name 5 regular songs, but is well-informed terrorist music connoisseur. Bro, you can't even name 5 songs, chill. Yeah, bro, I can. What do you want me to fucking say? For the elimination, the oppression. We are going our operation. For the Afghan Nation. Oh, I love that. I fucking love that song. Congratulations. Yeah, this is the one. I can't even fucking play it because I don't want assholes to like try and get me banned or some shit. But it's really funny. Remember, this is not about right or wrong. This is about how racist the mods will get. Okay, so don't even get me started.
Retribution campaign reached a new and ominous level late yesterday. The first criminal indictment of a man Trump considers a political enemy. Since the Watergate scandal more than 50 years ago, presidents have refrained from...
Yeah, I don't care about this. I'm skipping it. I don't care about this. I'm skipping it.
Donald Trump supporters talk of him being a...
I do care about this. I'm not skipping it. Elon Musk and Prince Andrew named in newly released Epstein files. What a bad week for Elon Musk, dude. First, it comes out that his dad is like a serial pedophile and he knew all about it. Okay. Then it comes out that he might have been named in the Epstein files.
Immortalized on Mount Rushmore, but he got a less flattering statue on the National Mall this week, honoring his former friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. The scandal that Teflon Trump cannot shake, nor anyone else in Epstein's orbit. The latest leaked documents do not involve the president, but figures close to him. Last week, Trump shared a handshake with Elon Musk, a thaw after their fallout, when the Tesla founder said that the president was in the Epstein files. But now, it's Musk who is named. New pages, which are heavily redacted, were released by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. In December 2014, there was a reminder for a visit from Musk to Epstein's island, with the note saying, "Is this still happening?" Musk has previously said he declined the invite.
Bad week for the legalization of comedy. We're legalizing comedy. Yeah. So cool, man. While people are more conservative in Iowa, they aren't monsters to be viscerally upset after seeing this shit. This guy just came back and responded to a statement that I was making, I think literally 2.5 hours ago. I can't even say this is a mobile chatter. This is something new, dude. That gave me fucking whiplash. Chatter is on a fucking carrier pigeon. The new rewind functionality is gonna cook the way chat works, I think. He said yep too. Bro, oh my God, is he commenting on the fucking chat all the way back there? He has no idea we're talking to him right now. Oh my God, it's 2.5 hours later. If he comes to this point in the VOD, he's gonna be like, oh my God, you guys were talking to me this whole time. Wow, that's amazing. Is that how that works when someone writes the chat in the rewind component? No, there's no way. So if someone was responding to something that they were watching in the rewind part, it like automatically appears. So he thinks he's actually watching it live and he's writing a comment. No, he thinks he's watching it live right now and he wrote a comment and he's just stuck in the past. He has no idea. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh, that's so funny. I wish we could just like speed it up. No, it shows the current chat, not rewinded.
The document also lists a 2017 lunch with the Conservative billionaire Peter Thiel, as well as a breakfast in 2019 with Steve Bannon, Trump's former White House chief strategist. None of this
It's strange. So many of like close Trump allies, so many of Trump's closest allies were directly connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Very interesting. I wonder what that's about. Don't look in that direction any further. Halt! You are violating the law. We have declared you Antifa terrorist. Halt! Do not ask questions about Donald Trump's involvement and his close associates' involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, New York financier, and most maligned individual, falsely smeared as a pedophile. We are now making it. Thank you, chat, for letting me know. Oh my God, you literally didn't know. Oh, that's so cute. That's so sweet, dude. This made me so happy. He was like responding to, he thought he was responding to me in real time. He was writing in the chat. Meanwhile, he's watching the rewind. Oh, rewind the last 10 minutes to see how much we were making fun of you. But yes, your take is correct. Thank you for agreeing with me. Get ready for this to happen every day. It's kind of sweet, man. Chatter just time traveled. It'll never not be funny that the people who stoked the Epstein stuff were themselves a part of Epstein's coterie. Well, I think the reason why is because they knew that the stuff would never come out because they're a part of it. And that's why they were confident enough to like agitate in that direction. Because remember, Elon Musk literally said the Jeffrey Epstein files will never be released because Donald Trump was heavily involved with Jeffrey Epstein. He basically called him a pedophile, knowing full well that he was in the files, man. Shame on Sky News for this utterly misleading headline. Anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete contempt. Epstein tried to get me to go to his island and I refused. Yet they say my name even before Prince Andrew, who did visit. Reminder, Elon Musk the island, December 6th. Is this still happening? Also, Elon, I wouldn't be talking about Jeffrey Epstein associations if I were you, considering Kimball Musk, your brother, is a direct affiliate to Jeffrey Epstein and was so till the last day he died, basically. Interesting. Perhaps his connection to Jeffrey Epstein was through his blood brother, Kimball Musk.
These men in criminal behavior, but all of these potential meetings occurred after Epstein was a convicted pedophile.
No, Elon Musk's brother is not dead.
And
Jeffrey
just
Epstein
days after the Duchess of York was dropped by numerous charities because of an email she wrote to Epstein, her former husband's involvement with the late financier is once again front and center. The new documents show a massage for Andrew, along with yoga and exercise, listed in February 2000 for $200, with another massage for the same amount in May. The files don't specify this as Prince Andrew, but he is named in a passenger manifest also in May 2000, flying with Epstein alongside Ghislaine Maxwell. The prince has always strenuously denied any wrongdoing.
We gather here with a singular purpose, to reveal every name
The family of Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre, who died this year, want the US government to release all the Epstein files.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie.
The FBI Director Kash Patel clashed with senators this month after his agency was widely criticized. Politicians in the House want to force a vote demanding the files are finally made public. There'd been one vote short, but the Democrats just won another seat. And here's what the winner said.
I will be the decisive 218 signature on the discharge petition to force a vote on the release of the Epstein files.
While the Trump-Epstein statue has now been chopped up and discarded, this scandal will not go away as politicians demand transparency and Epstein's victims ask for justice.
Hundreds of admirals and generals are leaving their posts from airfield, at sea, and at tactical headquarters around the world. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth summoning all U.S. general officers and admirals in command positions and senior enlisted leaders to a meeting at the U.S. Marine Corps base in Quantico, Virginia. But even those told to attend the meeting do not know what prompted Hegseth's call and what will be discussed. The Pentagon saying only the Secretary of War will be addressing his senior military leaders early next week. President Trump was asked about the meeting, but perhaps misunderstanding the question or unaware of the Hegseth meeting, he seemed to think it was foreign generals who were coming to meet Hegseth.
Well, I know. I love it. I mean, I think it's great. Let him be friendly. Let him be friendly with the generals and admirals from all over the world.
Dude, it's so funny that this is actually not like a significant thing as everyone initially predicted. And it's just him having like, he just wants to flex, I think. Like, wasn't it that the initial suspicion was something like, oh, it's just like war, this has never happened, all this stuff. Yeah. Many people are obviously concerned about why Hegseth is trying to gather every top military leader at once, concerns I share. But my impression of Hegseth is that he's constantly searching for the biggest audience possible to listen to him be important. It may be that stupid. Hegseth is an alcoholic Fox News host, someone whose highest leadership position was a platoon leader, who now inexplicably supervised the entire military. He's looking for recognition and respect from soldiers in the brass, and none of it is ever enough. Turns out, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered hundreds of generals to travel on short notice from around the world to hear him make a short speech on military standards and the warrior ethos. Bro, I'm gonna be honest, if I was living in like an area absolutely gutted and destroyed by America, this would be so funny. Like if I was living in Iraq right now, I'd be watching from Iraq like, that's so awesome. That's great. Fuck you. You know what I mean? It's gotta hit so different. It's like they're doing it to themselves. What they did to us by force, they're doing to themselves. What is going on? You know what I mean? If I'm looking at this and being like, haha, fucking idiots. He's literally just wanting to be like, we're not woke anymore. Got it, generals? Yep. Hegseth's orders, which were sent earlier this week to senior generals and admirals worldwide, require anyone in a command position with the rank of 1-star general or rear admiral and above, as well as their senior enlisted leaders, to be at Marine Corps University at Quantico, Virginia on Tuesday. It's just going to be about how they're all required to listen to a podcast called Warrior Mindset. Yeah, pretty much. That's awesome. I think it's awesome. Why are we here to suffer, or are we here to support the Hasanabi Piker Broadcasting Service with viewers like we? Make sure to gift those subs and use your free Twitch Prime to sub on PBS. Thank you. Yeah, all of those subs are probably going to eventually go to a fucking legal team. So how loyal is the military to Trump? Well, I don't know. After this meeting, perhaps less loyal than they were prior to the meeting. Imagine a guy, because like, remember, generals are like, they're well-read. They are, they've put in the time, like they've elevated to the highest position in the military. And then you got this drunk rapist dipshit television personality being like, that's right, everybody. It's time to have the warrior mindset. Okay. I need you guys to understand we're war fighters now. Okay. This is the War Department, not the Defense Department. Because like, I guess it was a perfect depiction of the anti-intellectual, the anti-intellectualism that is at the heart of the conservative movement. that when people were mad about Mark Milley and they called him gay and woke and a non-binary Marxist, Mark fucking Milley, because he was like, of course I read Mao. He was literally like, of course I read Mao, and I think everyone should. You have to understand the mindset of the enemy. And they were like, oh, you're like a non-binary queer Marxist, you fucking loser, you stupid libtard. Mark Milley. So it's just funny to have these guys who are like career military guys be like, what the fuck is this shit? Could it be the case that they use Hex's poor public image to come up with a stupid explanation that keeps them from asking more questions while the meeting /will be more consequential? Yes, except counterpoint. Where's the fucking Max Blumenthal clip? Hold on. Here. While on the one hand, I think the American government must be more sophisticated than this, right? Like, obviously, there's got to be a different reason. They're just like using, Pete Hegseth's like stupid front-facing behavior to where the fuck is it? They're using Pete Hegseth being like a drunk, stupid guy to be like, oh yeah, no, there's no nefarious purpose behind this meeting. It's just this. Here's the fucking counterpoint I have for you. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, when y'all score, I want to see the gritty. Yeah, I want to see the gritty.
He's hammered, by the way. Look at him. He's fucking hammered. He's like, want to see the gritty? You want to see the gritty?
Yeah, I want to see the gritty.
There's a Bud Light and a cup holder in front of him. Of course he's hammered. God forbid men have hobbies. Why is he dressed like Austin Show? Because he's a fucking Vikings fan. I don't know if this is recent. It's from last year. Wait, last year? He was drinking woke-ass transgender beer last year at the peak of anti-trans sentiment directed towards Bud Light? Ain't no way. Oh, yeah, Austin. Look at that. Look at your boy. Look at your fucking fandom, dude.
All right, when y'all score, I want to see the gritty. Yeah, I want to see the gritty.
Yeah, what do you got to say now? Yeah, what do you got to say now? Yeah. Is this why we haven't won a Super Bowl? Probably. That was like 4 years ago, lol. Oh, okay, thank God. So Bud Light wasn't transgendered yet. Is that what you're saying? Matt Iglesias never gave the left credit. Matt Iglesias appears to have published and deleted an article saying the leftists were right about the Democrats. What? The left is right about the Democrats. Page not found. They're too focused on donors and not focused enough on working class voters. Wait, no shot. This means that if Brett Favre asked him to drone strike someone, he probably would. Yeah, he deleted this not because he felt ashamed. He deleted this article instantly after posting it because he cannot have a good take. He is physically incapable of having a good take, even by mere accident. That's literally the reason. He deleted it because it was too correct of a position, and therefore it must be deleted. He has a perfect track record of being consistently wrong. Yeah. He's like, oops, accidentally posted a right take. He probably saw a current affairs interview. No, I think he's currently more predisposed with Curtis Yarwin, accusing him of being a recipient of hereditary communism. Yeah, that's what that ugly ass worm Curtis Yarvin was saying the other day. He said Matt Iglesias has hereditary communism, like genetic communist genes. I think that just means he's Jewish, right? That's what he's probably trying to say. He was trying to do the like Bolshevik thing, but like trying to intellectualize it somehow. I suspect that's what he meant. National conservatism tried to import an Israeli idea into America. Zionism is a fundamentally illiberal nationalist project. Matthew Iglesias. Wait, what? No, I don't believe that. I don't believe he said that. I think Sammy Gold is memeing, right? There's 0% chance those words actually... What? That seems too good of a take to be coming out of Matty Iglesias' mouth, which now makes me reconsider what I think about Zionism being a fundamentally illiberal nationalist project. Maybe I was wrong. Because when I hear Matt Iglesias say the same things that I've been saying for years and years, I have to call that into question. I must I must recognize that it is perhaps I who was wrong this entire time. Maybe it is a liberal project and good. Ain't no fucking way. He was a J Streeter. Bro, Matt Iglesias wrote about how fucking abysmal the apartheid structure was in the West Bank. I talked in my current affairs interview about it way back in the day. That motherfucker was knowledgeable on exactly what was taking place in like 2012. I think he wrote about how Israel's apartheid regime is a crime against humanity. No, he's a massive scumbag.
Is there something? No, but is there something wrong with it?
Vice President Vance stepping in.
It's not particularly unusual that generals who report to the Secretary of War and then to the President of the United States are coming to speak with the Secretary of War.
But there has not been a meeting quite like this one, and it has created apprehension among senior officers. Last May, Hegseth ordering at least a 20% reduction in the number of four-star generals and admirals across the active duty force.
It's in keeping with President Trump's commitment to achieving peace through strength. We're going to shift resources from bloated headquarters elements to our warfighters.
The secretary has already fired at least 15 senior military officers, including General C.Q. Brown, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the first woman to command the Navy, Admiral Lisa Franchetti, also let go. While the topic of the meeting remains a mystery, given what President Trump and J.D. Vance said about it, it does not appear to be an urgent national security matter. But having this many senior officers away from their post does create concern among some. Rebecca?
All right, Martha, thank you.
The looming government shutdown, less than a week to go till government funding runs out. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is back with what's at stake. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good.
Yeah, they want to do fucking massive layoffs, and they might use a shutdown to do so, but they should still shut it down regardless.
Dangerously close and just days away from a potential government shutdown. I know you've heard that before, but this time the politics are a lot different. To pass any kind of temporary extension of government funding, which is what...
Bro, I worked there, and I found out about this through the news. Wait, this is Jeffrey. This is Hakeem Jeffries' comms director saying, "Thanks for watching, Ken, along with 1+ million of Call to Activism's followers. Since you're such a fan, barely any interviews yesterday for you to clip." What is this? Hill Press Q&A. As shutdown looms, Hakeem Jeffries has barely done any interviews but found time to talk to a Democratic consultant hosted program, The Daily Mic Drop. Host, you showed the entire country that Donald Trump is being a coward right now. Why is Trump scared of meeting? Jeffrey, Schumer and I sent a letter to Trump demanding that we meet.
Because, listen, at the end of the day, the partisan Republican spending bill on Friday was defeated.
It's funny because it's like, he sucks. He sucks so bad that CNN put up a fucking poll to Hakeem Jeffries and was like, "Hey, Hakeem, 62% of your party want you to be replaced. How do you fucking feel about that?"
Dealing with the social media, which we didn't do enough of, frankly, in the past. And that was...
What is that? Is that like a mark that he has from his glasses, or did he get like a brain thing? Oh my God.
Which we didn't do enough of, frankly, in the past. And that was a mistake, and we're trying to rectify it.
Yeah, he got Neuralink. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are roundly despised, not only by like Republicans, obviously, duh, but also pretty much every fucking Democrat in the country. So the very fact that they're clinging on the power instead of just like making way for a more radical, more progressive wing of the party to take control over the Democratic Party and turn it into a fighting party, kicking and screaming. The very fact that they're not doing that implies that they're just totally comfortable with losing. That's it. President Donald Trump dispatched federal agents to Portland, local elected officials said in a hastily scheduled press conference on Friday night. Christopher Miller, Financial Times chief correspondent in Kyiv, says, "My hometown Alt Weekly reports Trump has dispatched federal agents to Portland, and they've amassed at the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Office in South Waterfront. We now have a sudden influx of federal agents in our city," Mayor Keith Wilson said. "We did not ask for them to come. They are here without precedent or purpose." Basically, until Ezra Klein tells Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to step down, it's reasonable to be suspicious about why he's trying to create divisions on everything from housing policy to fucking abortion while ignoring the most obvious and high reward step they can take. The best way to think about the winning in red states argument is to consider the career of Mary Piltola. She ran and won twice in Alaska. Nobody stopped her from doing it, and everyone liked her besides David Hogg. Then she lost because DC Dems fucked up the national environment. The story there wasn't one of someone following a pundit-written playbook. Nobody told her what to do, and nobody got in her way. It was a more or less working model that got ruined by incompetent leaders running the D brand, or ruining the D brand, who we are all being made to ignore by these debates. Basically, until Ezra Klein tells Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to step down, it's reasonable to be suspicious. I do think that Ezra Klein does have an outsized command over what happens at the establishment level in the Democratic Party. And for that reason, I don't like that Ezra Klein is not speaking out against that and instead is like worried about really silly shit. One of the things that they're talking about now is like what kind of Democrats we need to run in, like, you know, plus 20 districts and shit. And it doesn't make any sense. Ezra did a video like a week ago. He kind of said there needs to be a change. I just don't know why Ezra Klein has this much fucking prominence in the minds of the establishment. I mean, I guess aside from the abundance stuff and how they have, the Democrats in charge have convinced themselves that this is the way to rebrand third-way neoliberalism and like sell it to a young audience. Like, Ezra's best quality, I think, is that he is affable. I do not have the same level of anger and resentment that many in this community have towards him for that reason. I think he's very affable. That's it. That's literally it. He is just like, he is very much still the same kind of like establishment Democrat consultant person, but he can present himself, weirdly enough, he always is capable of presenting himself as like a kind person who is open-minded, even when it's very clear that he's not. Like, I'll give you a great example of this. When he had a conversation with Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now, that conversation being had on the New York Times at the time that that conversation was being had was a big deal regardless, right? But you could tell that even in that conversation where Ta-Nehisi actually called him out for the way he was presenting the far right of the Israeli flank versus the terrorism of Hamas, right? Or the terrorism of like the far right of the Palestinian emancipatory movement. And that double standard, or at least the way he presents information. Bro, any defense of him after the Kirk stuff is not possible. Guys, I'm just giving you a comprehensive and very critical opinion of Ezra Klein. And I'm also telling you why liberals broadly like him. This doesn't mean you should like him. This doesn't mean I agree with him. I disagree with him. I'm explaining to you why I disagree with him. You guys are so fucking stupid. Oh my God. Shut the fuck up and listen to my goddamn words. I'm telling you, his only quality is that he can present himself as like an open-minded person when it's very clear that his worldview is calcified, okay? Why is it so hard for so many dumb fuck leftists to just like refuse to see anything beyond black and white terms being used? I'm not saying Ezra Klein is correct or that I agree with him on any issue. I'm just explaining to you why so many liberals trust him and look at him. Because what are the redeeming qualities here if he is just churning out the same garbage that Hakeem Jeffries is, right? Like, and Hakeem Jeffries is deeply unpopular and outright despised, as a matter of fact, by the base. Whereas Ezra Klein is very well liked by the base. If you ask the Democrats, like, do you like Ezra Klein? The ones that do know him would say they like him a lot. They trust him. They see him as an important voice. I'm not voting for him, dude. Give it a rest. No, you must vote for Ezra Klein. You have to vote for him. I'm not even saying this is the reason why I like him. I'm saying this is the reason why I haven't had the same level of anger and resentment towards him for a very long time. And it was the Charlie Kirk thing that made me completely go, all right, that's enough. I'm done. Do you see what I'm saying? Because like, he has a way of presenting liberal ideas that come across as like reasonable when they are so objectively unreasonable. And one of the things that you can constantly hit him on is if we're talking about like some semblance of popularism, if you're going to do like David Shoreism, if you're going to bring back that like failed defense of the Democratic Party, then you should be talking about Israel every fucking day. The very fact that he would entertain winning in red states by putting forward pro-life Democrats at a time when there is no pro-life position, okay, right? That's not even a popular position at all, but never remotely entertain a rabid anti-Zionist position to win in red states is crazy. You're doing a disservice to all of the people that listen to your platform, okay? That's it. That's actually really good. Apathetic Blade says, yes, he's an opportunist who charms in the way that Tucker Carlson does for the far right. Yes, but for the far center. He is the Tucker Carlson of the far center. I love that. That's really good. I like that. What Tucker Carlson is for like WASP nationalism in this country, Ezra Klein does for the radical extremist centrists. Did you just glaze yourself? Wait, what? Myself?
Damn, this guy's good.